across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. I'm sorry I've been away. I suddenly, last Friday, completely lost my voice. So it was absolutely no good. So thank you to Johnny Gould who stood in for me. But I'm back tonight and in hopefully fine voice. That'll last until 1 o'clock in the morning. Midnight, of course, it's the phone in, and that's a full hour of just you and me talking. And what I want to try and understand is what is going wrong with British policing. What would you put your finger on? Who is to blame for what appears to be a huge drop in confidence in British policing? 49% of us have less faith in the police today than we did 10 years ago. So what is causing that? I mean, is it the stupid stories about investigating roundabouts, or is it the stories about police officers? I've got footage of this, I'm sure you've seen it. A police officer stealing a woman's pants from her underwear drawer while he was there on a search. I mean, it is ridiculous. Do we have that? Can we show now? Let's just show this quickly now. Sorry to those of you who are listening on the radio, but here he goes. I'll give you a bit of a talk. Here he is. He's got his gloves on. He's got his hazmat jacket on, searching through drawers and things like that, like a copper should do if somebody's been arrested for, I don't know, drugs or weapons. He seems to have found something quite interesting in a drawer there, has a look around, picks up a pair of pants, there it goes, straight into his back pocket, there, and they were still on his person. Disgusting. Absolute violation. I don't care what the woman was apparently supposed to have done, but that is an absolute disgrace. It's a violation of everything, isn't it? Of her privacy. What I mean, I don't even want to know what he did with the pants. He might still be wearing them to this day. He did go to jail for 4 months, and he also resigned from the police service, so he's no longer in the police, thank goodness. But is it things like that where we just have lost faith in British policing? What is it, do you think, has led us down this path where nearly half of us have less faith in the British police than we did 10 years ago? And seriously, that is a real problem. It's a massive problem, because then we start taking the law into our own hands, and down that path madness lies. But if we don't trust the police, if we don't have faith in them doing their job properly, then all bets are off. So what is it that has led for you to lose faith in the police? Perhaps you were arrested. Perhaps these horrible facial recognition cameras that they're deploying everywhere now has made you lose faith in policing. It seems like the police just don't want to police. They seem to want to do it from a distance now using just technology, which is not the way that it is supposed to work. People who are being wrongly identified by facial recognition cameras, it is up to them to prove they are not that guilty person. It used to be the police had to prove that they were. So the burden of proof is now falling on us as citizens to prove that we are not guilty of something. That's not right. So, but is it policing? Is it government? Is it the justice system? What is it that has led you to lose the faith that you have in British policing, or in British justice? Maybe we'll just round it off to that. So give me a call on that at midnight. The number you're going to need is 0344 499 1000, and you can text your message to 87222. If you put the word talk up front, that comes through to me in the studio. So all of that is to come. Before that, we have the fabulous Cody Darla in the studio, the comedian, the comedy writer, sorry, and host of The Truth in My Opinion podcast. He'll be in the studio to go through the papers for Thursday. Andy Lound will be here, our favourite, well, my favourite space expert anyway. And Claire Bosey, editor of the Chef and Restaurant magazine, will be here as well to talk to us about Scottish Food September. So all of that is to come. But first, blimey, this has been a journey and a half, hasn't it? and it's not been one of 4 years or 5 years, as Donald Trump seemed to think, but it's been one of nearly 3.5 years, and that is the Russian attack on Ukraine. Russia's president's team has played down talks of a possible meeting between Putin and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Putin, I don't think, will ever meet with Zelensky. I don't think he wants to. I think it would be very bad optics for him in Russia, just in the same way as meeting with Donald Trump and getting the red carpet was very good optics for Putin's Russia. Western leaders promised security guarantees to protect any peace agreement in Ukraine and prevent Russia from a future attack, with no clear details of what that may entail. US President Trump admitted that the conflict was a tough one to solve, and it may be possible that Putin's intentions may not be to end hostilities. And at the moment, why would he? He's got the summer advantage, the weather advantage. He's being able to add 30 to 35,000 extra troops, seemingly at will, anytime he wants to, whereas Ukraine's people, soldiers, is depleting fast. There's no reason for Putin to stop. And all he managed to do, quite cleverly, was play for more time to mount more sorties on Ukraine, while Donald Trump, it seems, has tacoed out of the extra further sanctions up until this point. Many people are seeing it that Trump gave Putin permission to continue bombing while details are sorted out. So what is the truth, and what would any peace deal look like? Keir Starmer has already said that he's ready to put boots on the ground. Now, it wouldn't, from what I've been reading, it's unlikely that those boots would be on the front line. It would be more around ports and cities. In fact, it may not be at all, except for training Ukrainian soldiers. Right? So it might be that we have boots on the ground in that way to train Ukrainian soldiers to refill all those positions, but it may not be as peacekeeping forces. So who would put boots on the ground? Because they're going to be needed. We know what Russia's intentions are. Joining me to talk about this is Colonel Simon Diggins, OBE, retired British colonel and defence analyst. Simon, good to speak to you. How are you?
Petrie, I'm very well indeed. I'm glad you're well as well.
Thank you. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. A little bit snotty, but we'll make do with that. This is. I've been reading quite a lot about this, and there's been some people saying we are further away from a peace now than we were 2 weeks ago, and others saying, look, we could be warming up to some kind of peace deal. Of course, there was no ceasefire agreement at all, and there can be no peace without that.
Yeah, and I think the ceasefire is interesting because that was the one thing everyone expected to come out of the meetings between President Trump and President Putin. And everyone logically, and I think I probably said on programs as well, thought the logical first step was a ceasefire, stop the killing, and then have the conversation about what some kind of peace settlement in the long term might look like. Over the weekend, we had this statement that there's no need for a ceasefire, that most of the lineaments, the kind of lines of a possible peace settlement were there, so we could move straight to the peace settlement. The only person who really benefits from that is Putin, because peace settlements are hard to negotiate. We know that, hence the kind of suggestion of intermediate stage. And he can keep talking and saying, well, we haven't got the peace settlement, therefore we don't need a ceasefire all the time, putting huge pressure on Ukraine, which we've seen in the last few days as well.
It's really interesting, though, that Donald Trump seems to... I mean, this is why all the European leaders went over, right? Because they knew that he would take on what Putin had said, so they needed to reset the framework. He seems to flip-flop depending on who he's in the room with. But he's quite clearly either in awe of Putin, or some people are suggesting he's frightened of him. Do you think that?
I think he's in awe of him because I think he's not a natural Democrat with a small d, is President Trump, and he recognises what he sees as an authoritarian leader who can do what he likes, which I think is the way he sees himself in terms of how he is. Whether he's frightened or not is harder to tell. I think he never really come against somebody like that who's absolutely determined and prepared to kill on the scale that Putin is in order to achieve his ends. He talks about his time as a deal maker. He was President 1.0, and he was prepared to order lethal force. But that was very specifically the assassination against the leader of the IRGC. But the idea of fighting a long war and happily sending tens of thousands of troops into effectively a meat grinder, I think is genuinely, I mean, I really should say probably, is genuinely anathema to President Trump. I mean, I think it's hard sometimes to discern his principles, but one is that he does not believe in forever wars and believes war is an abomination. I think that bit's genuine. And so coming up against someone like President Putin, for whom war is simply another instrument of policy, I think for him is difficult to get his head around, difficult to comprehend.
We've also got massive egos at play here. We really can't have a conversation about this without acknowledging that. And I was just saying in my talk up to coming to you about the optics that Putin is so precious about. You know, the red carpet being laid out for him, American soldiers on their knees, straightening the carpet in front of Russian, bodyguards. I mean, the whole imagery is just sugar on top of a lollipop for Putin back home. To see Americans on their knees in front of Russians, rolling out the red carpet, Donald Trump applauding a man who couldn't have set foot in another country without being arrested for war crimes, those optics were just honey to him, weren't they?
I think they were. I mean, he probably also wouldn't have missed out the fly past, though, by the B-2 bomber and the F-35s, which was obviously put on for his benefit as well, to show that we're still there. You're absolutely right, though. What he was really after was that, and Putin, doesn't matter what was said in the discussions, Putin scored a major strategic victory. He's been brought in from the cold. Biden wouldn't talk to him. The last time he met him as American president, it was President Trump prior to that. And this is the first time he's met a major world leader since his invasion of apart from the Chinese and people like that, since the invasion in February 22. So, he's been brought in from the cold. He's now at that kind of point where what he says, what he wants to do, is actually the heart of world affairs. And he would say that's what he needed. That Russia has been ignored. Russia is a great power, and now he's now back in that place where he and President Trump are determining the future of the world. So from Putin's perspective, is absolutely what he wanted.
And of course, he wants Alaska too. So let's not make any mistake about that. But again, with Donald Trump, we have an ego at play here as well, and he wants to be seen to be this great peacemaker. He keeps talking about these 6 wars that he stopped. Certainly India and Pakistan have denied that he had any involvement in them not nuking each other. He claims to have solved, I think, Serbia. There are other things going on. This is a big deal for him, but for him, in terms of his own personal advancement.
Yeah, no, because I think this is him and his way forward. He's at the centre of this. I mean, I think when people have been talking about the Nobel Peace Prize that he's after, I mean, he's slightly joking about it, but I think in truth
he never
does
jokes.
For somebody who might receive it.
He never jokes. He says things and then says he's joking, but then he keeps saying them. It was like the Canada thing.
Yeah,
I'm only joking.
It's still there.
Yeah, and it's still there. The other thing is about Putin and meeting up with Zelensky. Again, the optics of that. That is not something that Putin, I don't believe, would do in person. I think he'd send an underdog.
Well, that seems to be where it is at the moment, because for him to see President Zelensky means to officially recognise that Ukraine is, as we all understand, to be an independent and sovereign country. And so he would only ever have that if he basically had President Zelensky on his knees again, in sort of abject surrender to his greater Russian brother. But the idea of them meeting effectively as 2 leaders of independent countries, albeit ones who've been at war, I think, as you say, is most unlikely, certainly in the short term. Well,
let's have a look and see. Let's move forward in the hope that there is some kind of deal struck. 20% of Ukraine has been now occupied by Russia. It is very unlikely that Zelensky will give that to Russia. He may accept that it is occupied land, if you take into account what Palestine, Palestinians and Israel. There may be something in that region where they say, look, it's occupied, but it still belongs to us. It's ours. I'm not sure that's something that Putin would go for, but it's something that Zelensky might, in the hope that things change in the future, right? The same with Crimea. But Putin is asking for a lot of land there. And Trump's just said in the White House, well, that's already gone. What chance does Zelensky have of getting any of that back?
I think in the short term, very, very little. I mean, President Trump in the past talked about the fact that, and he's got it wrong, but he talked in the past about the Ukrainians not resisting when Crimea and parts of the Donbass were seized in 2014. They were fought against, but the power of Russia was there. And at the time, in power in Ukraine was a president who was essentially pro-Moscow anyway, yeah. from there. I think the key thing is where might the line of control be? I mean, I think that President Zelensky might, with a huge reluctance, accept a sort of a ceasefire on the current line of control on the basis he can't reasonably at the moment get it back, and then hope, as you say, for some miracle in the future. The real thing, though, is what else has been discussed. And we know that President Putin has demanded the rest of the Donbass, these two provinces, Donetsk and Luhansk, that haven't been taken. For Ukraine to give that up would essentially be to completely skewer their future security. I mean, what we do know, those bits there are where the most heavily fortified strategic defence regions are for Ukraine. And why Russia wants those, not simply to if you like, to complete the set, because this fits with the pattern of Soviet and Russian behaviour. At the end of every war, they basically prepare themselves for the next war. You look at the bits they took at the end of the Second World War. From the north, the Karelian Peninsula, giving them access into Finland, Kaliningrad, giving them access into the Baltic, the part of the Carpathians, which now ironically belongs to Ukraine, and also Transnistria. In every single case, they effectively were bridgeheads through the strategic obstacle, the obstacle into the next country, and gave them that bit of security. And that's why he wants these additional bits of territory for that. And of course, if Zelensky gave that up, then he would basically be condemning Ukraine to a future attack from Russia at Russia's time and of their choosing.
I mean, plus the Donetsk region is 16% of all their mineral.
Absolutely.
As well. So there's money, and that's something that I expect Donald Trump can he'll probably go, yeah, no, I get it. You want those minerals, but look, there's a third of the Donetsk region that hasn't been taken yet. So, but Putin wants all of it, that whole region.
And that third that hasn't been taken is exactly the bit I'm talking about. It's the bit that's got their strategic defence area. It's their fortress cities, their defence lines. And if that was given up or taken over, that basically leaves the rest of Ukraine vulnerable. And that's precisely why Zelensky can't give it up, and precisely why Putin is pushing for it.
And precisely why, actually, Russia has only been able to take 1% in the last, 18 months?
Yeah.
Actually, because most of that was taken in the first year. But they haven't been able to move forward because Ukraine has been pushing them back in the Donetsk region.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, there's always, it's a very grim field by field, village by village battle. But there are still, for both sides, strategic defence areas that if you gave them up would lose your overall operational position. And this remaining bit of the Donetsk is exactly that for Ukraine, and precisely why Ukraine can't give it up, and why, in the corollary, why Putin is so demanding to try and obtain it.
Let's have a look at the other side now of Russia, if you like, and Europe's new Iron Curtain. I found this really interesting. Is that Lithuania, excuse me, plans to dig a 30-mile wide ribbon of defensive borders with Russia and Belarus. We mustn't forget Belarus as well, which is really aching for a fight at the moment, which will include minefields and bridges set to blow up in case Russia invades. Now, these are proper plans in place now. Do we see that, because Estonia and Latvia, they've got to protect themselves, right? And Lithuania, because that border is a hugely long border, and that is an easy mark, especially with Belarus there, for Russia to walk into those areas.
No, absolutely. And we know, for example, that the Russians are building a base in Belarus.
Yeah.
Very close to the Baltic borders,
yeah.
And clearly setting themselves up for any future assault which they care to make. I mean, the leaders of the Baltic countries, linked also with the Finns and with the Poles, being absolutely clear with us, saying that they believe themselves to be the next target. Whenever there's some kind of settlement in Ukraine, whether it be a short-term one or a long-term one, then the target will then switch to the Baltics, where we do know that Putin has ambitions, and he's got a ready-made excuses. All of those countries, particularly those 3 Baltic countries, have got substantial Russian minorities, some of whom, frankly, have never reconciled themselves to now being part of the Baltic countries, and so it's very easy for him to manufacture, as he did in the Donbass region, excuses to carry out further acts of aggression. And so rightly those countries, Lithuania, for example, is now spending 5.5% of its GDP on defence, and not the sort of 5.5% that we might spend by 2035, where 1.5% of that is spent on so-called national resilience projects. They're spending 5.5% of their GDP on defence. In other words, proper security to stop Russia and to prevent them from attacking.
Oh yeah, you can see how seriously they're all taking it, and Poland as well, stepping up on its stuff. They're not playing. They know what's going to happen next. And just briefly, there was another Stephen Witkoff. He has mentioned a form of, if you like, NATO light, a collective security contingency. In other words, that Ukraine wouldn't get to join NATO. Trump has ruled that out. But they're saying there could be a way of providing them with NATO security without them joining NATO. But I can't imagine that Putin would agree to that.
Well, he may not agree to it, but actually that's the key to it, whether we're serious about providing a security guarantee to Ukraine, that we do offer them something like that. Now, whether it's done on a collective sort of coalition willing basis, or whether it's done on a sort of bilateral basis, Ukraine and Britain, for example, saying we'll come to your aid in the event of further aggression, I think it is probably less important. There are models for this around the world. It's a sort of model that the US has made. The deal it's made with Japan, with South Korea, and with the Philippines. And if it's then backed up by resource and some operational support, training, military intelligence, then it starts to look credible. So it's not a bit of paper, but it's also credible as well. So I think that would also help. And this is not necessarily always so clear, but it appears to be the case that some of the issue is not just Putin's objection to giving its support to Ukraine, but there are also some NATO countries, particularly Southern European ones, who are not necessarily convinced it's the way ahead to do that, but are convinced and are willing to be part of a kind of a non-NATO but collective endeavour with Ukraine as well. That, for example, is particularly the case with Italy, who don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO, but would be willing to be part of a sort of coalition. They're willing to support them as well. And sometimes that's for sort of internal constitutional and other reasons. So I think we sometimes have to respect some of those changes, but it can be made to work as long as it's serious and is backed up with resource.
Simon, thank you. So much to talk about. I mean, literally, I wanted to talk to you about boots on the ground as well. We've run out of time. Colonel Simon Diggins, OBE, thank you very much indeed. Retired British Colonel and Defence Analyst. Quick break, back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And coming up at midnight, the phone in, of course, your chance to talk back. Faith in police plunges as less than half think officers do a good job. It's crumbled. Our faith in the police has crumbled now to an historic low in the past decade, as Landmark Review has discovered. Just 49% describe their local force as doing a good or excellent job in the year to March 2025, according to a survey of 32,000 Brits. The figure from the crime survey for England and Wales was down by 13 percentage points from 62% a decade ago. In fact, the percentage of those who give their local force a good or excellent rating has fallen every year since that high of 63%. So I want to know, what do you think has gone wrong with British policing if we've lost faith in it? What has changed? What is different? I think society, look, we're all, there's plenty of scumbags go around in every generation, aren't there? I'm sure that the police have had to deal with gangs and crime and all sorts of stuff in days gone by when they were rated more favourably, let's put it that way. There's a reputation of the police now. Certainly after the Sarah Everard and other cases of police conduct, you've got situations with, I showed you images earlier of a police nicking a woman's pants from her knicker drawer. It's all so sordid and squalid and pathetic, and I think we expect better from the police, but obviously we don't trust them anymore. We don't have that faith in them. So why have you lost faith in British policing? Or is it in the whole justice system? Because actually it can't be much fun being a police officer either, and you arrest somebody and you go through all the rigmarole of getting them charged, and then you get them to court, and then they get off with a slap on the wrist, or they're let out early from a prison sentence because there's not enough prison spaces. It must be a pretty thankless job. But what has gone wrong with policing? If you're an old style copper, has it got anything to do with the way police are recruited now? That senior officers now have usually come from universities. They haven't walked the beat. They don't know what's going on in action. They're more university grads than they are old-style police officers. What do we want to see from policing on British streets? It certainly isn't what we're seeing now, is it? I don't know what's going on, but it's not working. And why isn't it working in your view? Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on this. 0344 499 1000.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good evening to you. This is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you. And just a reminder that coming up, we've got Andy Lound. He'll be here talking us through all the space news, and Cody Darla, comedy writer and host of the Truth in My Opinion podcast, will be in the studio to go through the newspapers for tomorrow. But first, Claire Bosey joins us now, editor of Chef and Restaurant magazine. A good evening to you.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
I've got my voice back. I've been off sick for 2 days.
Oh no!
Yeah, no voice.
I'm losing mine.
Typical. We'll always do things together. Talk to me about Scottish Food September. That sounds fabulous.
Yeah. So the actual term is Scottish Food and Drink September, and you know, as you know, there's so much food tourism at the moment, and I think, as a nation, we feel like we need to head off to France or Italy or Spain to go and find some really great food producers and suppliers. And actually, we know this because we have part heritage ourselves, but Scotland is emerging as this huge gastronomic destination that people should be really thinking about heading up to Scotland to have a look. I mean, for the first time ever this year, the Michelin Awards, Restaurant Awards, were held in Kelvin Grove up in Glasgow, Kelvin Grove Art Gallery. And I spent a few days up in Scotland before, just kind of visiting chefs, but not only visiting. There's several brilliant Michelin-starred chefs all over the country, and 2 Michelin-starred chefs. But one thing that really struck me walking through Edinburgh and through Glasgow is the range of small independents, like bakeries and patisseries, a patisserie that would challenge the finest French patisseries. And they're very small businesses. It might only be, you know, a husband and wife team or 2 friends that have created these little businesses. But honestly, you go through Scotland and there are these incredible food suppliers there. But as a country, Scotland Food and Drink are the kind of, I guess, the representative body, but Scotland is broken into 15 regional groups. So you've got kind of like Highland Food and Drink or Orkney Food and Drink and Taste Perthshire. But it's not all haggis and whiskey. We already know how great, it's the best seafood in the world. That's without question. We all know that Scottish seafood is. But there are other producers of charcuterie. I went to somewhere called the Isle of Barrow, which is a little island off the coast of Scotland. You can only land there if the weather's okay, because there's no airports. You have to land on the beach. And there's a woman there making lobster, almost like Cornish pasties. Ooh. And she's basically taking lobster tails and putting them in pasties and then like selling them for like £5. And then making seaweed gins. There's honeys, there's charcuterie, there's berries, and all the kind of meats and everything. And they're all, a lot of these people are, well, they're all kind of independent companies, but they're using traditional methods, you know, traditional breeds. They're very climate conscious, very sustainable, very open doors. You know, the Scottish raspberries, again, are among the best in the world. But we often forget that Scotland has this whole bounty of produce, which is incredible. So September, the Scotland Food and Drink September is this big celebration all throughout September of these producers and suppliers and places you can go and visit, which deserve this kind of recognition. And it's very interesting. I was reading yesterday that on the back of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, there's one haggis producer, and he makes incredible haggis. I think it's called McSween. And he said there's been a 15% increase in sales of haggis because people have gone up to Edinburgh, they've eaten proper haggis, you know, not something that you quickly buy and throw in England, throw around on New Year's Eve, but proper haggis done really well is a truly gastronomic dish. And they've seen a 15% increase in the sale of haggis off the back of the Edinburgh Fringe. And it's just, you know, there are so many places worth visiting that I often think we very quickly dismiss what we've got on our doorstep.
No, it's true, because, I mean, Scotland, you know, reputationally, you think of perhaps the fried Mars bar, or, you know, things. There's jokes about the Scottish food, about the haggis, and, you know, all of that. But actually, it has quite a unique ecosystem, doesn't it, Scotland? So it does produce. It's got lots of rain. It produces lots of good wheat, and it, you know, certainly some excellent Scottish whiskies like Glengoyne, which is my favourite whiskey, and because it's not peaty, it's cooked over straw basically rather than peat. So there's a whole different ranges of foods, and even the whiskies themselves are so different.
Yeah, I mean, and also there's an amazing place you can go and visit. I think it's in Ayrshire, and it's called Blackthorn. So it's a company called Blackthorn Salt. Now they have this huge thorn tower, like this tower made out of thorns, and the seawater is poured over the top of this. It trickles down the tower, and then the winds coming in evaporate the water, and you're left with all of this salt crystal.
Wow.
And it's the best salt you'll find anywhere. But apart from that, it's
and
just
they harvest
extraordinary.
that salt.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll bring you some. I've got some.
Oh, good.
Visiting these producers is just, it's interesting, as well as you get to taste these amazing products and learn something new. But Blackthorn Salt is just quite extraordinary to see. It's like otherworldly when you look at it.
Wow. That is, I love that. I love the idea of that. Yeah, it is a shame that honestly, if we do think about good foods, we might go out of country. But like you said, you and I are going to have to, well, we've all talked about doing a tour of Scotland anyway together, but we need to go up and do that as well, and taste all the food.
Cheeses, charcuteries, they're all there. You know,
yeah, well, we know the seafood is exceptional there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's so highly sought after by all the Asian countries. In America, it's highly sought after in America because it genuinely is the best quality in the world. I've been out there. I've been out on the fishing boats out there, met the fishermen. Didn't particularly like being out at sea that much.
I know, I remember.
Lost my sea legs big time. However, and also, well, like when you're on the boat, when you're not vomiting over the side, when you're actually on the boat and you're looking around, I mean, the water is so crystal clear, and you know, the nature is everywhere. And you know, and the coastlines are just dramatic and rugged, and so the Isle of Barra, I think like 800 people live there. I think there are 3 street lights on the whole island. By the time I'd been there for a couple of days, like everybody knew they knew us as, I was with a group of 3 chefs, and they knew us as the 3 chefs and the girl that puked. Is how we.
Right, the Fat Duck. Now, this is a restaurant that everybody probably has heard of, even if they're not into gastronomy. But if they are into gastronomy, Heston Blumenthal and the Fat Duck is synonymous with crazy, madcap, brilliant food. And it reaches quite a significant anniversary this year.
So I have just come back from a full day at the Fat Duck today. Last Saturday was their 30th anniversary. Wow. And what Heston Blumenthal has done is extraordinary. And I've been doing this big project with them at the moment. I was with Heston a couple of weeks ago, and I was with his senior team today, interviewing people who've been with him for kind of 20 odd years at the Fat Duck. And one thing I found, even though I've known Heston for a long time, when I did the interview with him, one thing I was never aware of was that the UK and the world of gastronomy came half an hour away from never, ever knowing the Fat Duck, never knowing the name Heston Blumenthal, because he very nearly completed on a property in South Africa. He'd found a property in South Africa, he'd exchanged contracts, it was all going through. Half an hour before completion, the deal fell through because the property was in a family feud, the feud was resolved. But then you start thinking, imagine, for me in particular, but also for a lot of people they won't realise, but imagine a world in which the Fat Duck had never existed, Heston Blumenthal had never existed. He's done so much for the sector. And yes, you know, some of his projects and some of his dishes, and you've seen them on television, or you've seen them in newspapers or magazines over the years. But what he's created in that 30 years, first of all, he opened a restaurant with no experience. He'd only ever done work experience. He didn't train as a chef. He just wanted to cook, right? He said, I just wanted to cook. That's when he bought the Fat Duck. It was an old pub. His remit was, I just want to cook. And he was doing starters for £3.50 and desserts for £2.50. And he had £10,000, and that was it to kit out a restaurant. So it was Heston and one 17-year-old washer-upper. Within 9 years, he went from being this quite badly run restaurant in Bray-on-Thames to having 3 Michelin stars, right? That's the equivalent of a guy going to a regional play in the middle of Beyond somewhere, and in 9 years being on the Walk of Fame and having won an Oscar. It's that quick. He went, and that's because of his application, because he's always questioning. It's his motto, is always question, always be curious. But what was great today was speaking with his senior team. His energy is still there. He still has, I can't even, I tell you in private, but it's a case of really watch this space for the Fat Duck, because he's got some amazing, you would never think he could get any more amazing. And then he tells you what he's up to, and you're like, oh my goodness, you're still doing it. But if the Fat Duck had never existed, what he did do, he gave chefs confidence to be daring. He created businesses for specialist ingredients that weren't really used before Heston was doing all of this thing. The same with equipment manufacturers. You know, he's done work with supermarkets. That's why some supermarkets have changed, you know, what they're doing. They're being more creative with their food. You've got teachers in schools being more creative with how they're teaching kids about food. And that's all thanks to one man who took a punt and had £250,000, bought a pub, had no idea what he's doing, and then within 9 years turned the world of UK gastronomy
and he's
on its
held
head.
on to those 3 stars, which again, people think you can't lose them. Yes, you can. So that is checked every single year against his peers, and he's held on to those 3 stars for that 21 years. It is absolutely extraordinary that he's managed to do that.
It's extraordinary how he keeps coming up with new ideas, and he's looking at, you know, gut microbiome, how people are eating, how people are now potentially wanting a longer menu but much smaller. You know, there are lots of people that don't have as big an appetite as they used to do, but they still want really flavoursome food. He's just working on so many projects at the moment but also that as an employee, you know, his front of house team, and I think he is unique in the UK. I spend my entire time going around these places. You know, his eating at the Fat Duck it's a theatre, and it sounds a cliche, but it's not. It's a theatre. So he's brought in an actor from the West End to spend time with his front of house staff, how to speak, how to stand, how to deliver. He's brought professional dancers in to teach his front of house team how to move, you know, how to glide through the restaurant, how to be effortless and not in the way. And then he's also brought psychologists in, and the psychologists sat there and go, this is how you read body language. This is what this means. So not only is he like this incredible restaurateur that the whole country should be so proud of, and he's had his own personal demons and everything to deal with. He's in a good place. His team are in a really good place. But he's, you know, the idea that we had this sliding doors moment within 30 minutes, we may not, because there's no Michelin guide out in South Africa, we would never know who he is.
And he really has made such a mark. In fact, I want you to book a table for me there for my birthday.
Okay.
And I want Heston to be cooking.
Yeah, and honestly, you should see some of the things that they've got in the Fat Duck. They had a big refurbishment about 15 years ago. They have this wine, when you go upstairs to the bathroom, you walk past the wine cellar. It's pine frosted glass, and each step you take lights up a section of it. It's like a sensor. So as you walk down the corridor, the wine cellar suddenly starts lighting up.
I'm going to be going up and down there.
And over your table, the colour changes on your table according to the course that you're on. Because what Heston, a lot of people labelled him with molecular gastronomy, and he's like, that's not what I do. He goes for all the senses. He goes for smell and touch and sound and taste. He goes for all the so
that is so
yeah.
exciting. I mean, like you said, to be that exciting still this far into his career, and as you said, after some real hefty personal setbacks, but he is right there. This is the genius of Heston Blumenthal. Claire, thank you very much indeed. Just sort that booking out, and I'll speak to you soon. Claire Bosey, my little sister, editor of a Chef and Restaurant magazine. Quick break, and the fabulous Andy Lound is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So from gastronomy to astronomy. How about that? That was not bad, I think. Andy Lound joins me now, space expert. Hello, Andy.
Hi, how are you doing? Are you feeling a lot better?
Oh, bless you. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better than I did. I was sobbing like a baby at the weekend. No. I felt, you know, when you just feel every bit of you is aching. It was horrible. Yes. But no, I'm much better now. Thank you for asking.
Good.
It's lovely to see you, although not good news for the Independent Space Agency.
This is interesting. No, the UK Space Agency is now being completely absorbed by the government. Department of Science, Innovation and Technology are taking it over. It's been an interesting history of Britain in space with British space projects, because we had the British Space Development Company in 1960, and their job was to pull all the industry people together to do it. But we also had the National Research Development Corporation, who tried to fund sort of things, but spent all their money really on hovercraft and nuclear power. That seemed to be what they did. But in 1985, we had a bit of a shock, because we did have the British National Space Centre was opened, and that idea was to pull industry together, and I was listed in that as a public speaker for that. But myself and our friends think, I wonder if these people really have any knowledge what's going on. So we'll have a bit of a laugh. They published a great directory of all space connections in Britain, so you could deal with them. So we thought, we'll supply an entry and see how well they check these. And we supplied the British Rocket Group, who was being run by Professor Bernard Quatermass.
Oh, dear.
They put it in.
No.
Yep, they put it in. So Bernard Quatermass and the British Rocket Group, from Nigel Neal's wonderful books and TV, was actually officially listed as a resource for the British National Space Centre. So it was a bit hit and miss. And then, of course, we had the UK Space Agency, which was a very interesting concept. And this was a bit more along the lines of NASA, so it was a bit more oomph to it. But when the previous governments took the policy decision role for them away, so the government could only do the policy making part of it, but still left fairly independent to carry on. But now the new Labour government has decided, we're not having this, we're taking it all on in order to save money and cut costs, which means that the UK space is going to lose money in that case. Then it's going to pull the plug essentially and do it. We've already seen a lot of tragedy already, because we had the best air-breathing engine ever developed in the world being developed for a potential space plane called Skylon, by Reaction Motors, a brilliant company. They've gone bankrupt now because they couldn't get the support. And no sooner had they gone bankrupt, I noticed in Europe that a group of European consortium were thinking of doing the same sort of thing. So it's something else we've now lost. But some scientists are very concerned about this. One scientist at the Open University is concerned about this because it'll lose its focus. And we all know that politicians do not like scientists particularly well, because scientists deal in hard, cold facts. You can't lie. It's a fact. And we all know that Tony Blair did not get on very well with scientists because they wouldn't do his bidding. They would tell what they found, not what he wanted them to find. And therefore, there's a great concern here that as the British space industry was really getting going, it could actually fall on stony ground again, because it's now at the whims of a government. And that's always a bad thing, I think, for science.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. But I suppose at the moment there'll be a lot of people who say, look, there's no money around, you know, where can we save it? And they think space is something that we don't necessarily need.
Well, this is for space industry, remember. The whole idea of this was to pull industry together.
Yeah,
so
true.
The idea was that you put money in to do start a project going, and then industry would come in, which should have been done with Skylon, but I think there was a lot of politics getting involved with that to kill that, and it's going to be taken over by somebody else now. So the whole thing was to actually make a focus for industry to see where it could go. We're brilliant at building small satellites. We're very good at that. We're very good at certain types of rocket motors. We're very, very brilliant at many things we do. And we've been there for a long period of time. It's just we've never had the political support, which I think scientists always really needed to get themselves going. And I'm afraid it looks like they're not going to get that. I think they're going to. I think there's no secret. I think it's no surprise to think that when you start looking at the government budgets and how much they're in debt and where that. What can we do which is not likely to be controversial? Let's take it off science and stick it somewhere else.
And it's always very, very short-sighted. The Devil Comet.
Yes.
What a name.
It's called the Devil Comet because there were two jets of material zooming out from it, which made it look as if it got horns. Comets are made out of ice, various types of ices. Various types of ices, CO2, water, and so on. And when it gets close to the sun, the ices sublimate. They turn from a solid to a gas without a liquid stage. The solar wind blows the tail behind it when it's flying towards the sun, in front of it when it's flying away from the sun. So the tail always points away from the sun. And sometimes you get jets of material shooting out. And there were two particular jets which were quite remarkable and made it look like the devil's horns. So they did that. But what's interesting, studying the comet, they've actually found that the water on the comet is very similar to that we have in our own oceans. Essentially, what we're looking at there is our water is composed of normal standard hydrogen and deuterium, which is a different isotope of hydrogen. And you look at the ratio between ordinary hydrogen and deuterium, and that gives you a unique, if you like, blueprint of what our water is. If the comet has the same sort of blueprint, the same sort of ratio, then the water from Earth probably came from from comets. Now, this is very exciting because this is the first time a comet has been shown to have the same ratio. Other comets we've looked at, the ratio has been different. However, and I have to have however on this, I did a talk in Bradford last week all about asteroids and comets, and I was pointing out that the data that came back for the asteroids, and we've sampled asteroids, the water that comes from all the different asteroids is the same ratio as we have on the Earth. So it's likely that asteroids distributed water onto the Earth. However, nature being nature, it's quite likely comets did as well. So we have a mixture of the two distributing the material onto our planet. But it's a good...
So they were the delivery system, basically, of the ocean. So they crashed into the Earth.
And it distributed water onto the planet. And of course, we see water on the moon and the water on Mercury, and we think that the water there has actually come from comets, cometary impacts possibly, which left water. We need to analyse what the ratios, isotopic ratios are there too, and that would give us an indication of where they originate, which would be exciting. I mean, it makes no difference to us. We could use the water one way or the other. It's just trying to find out where the water came from. But I think it's likely that we saw a mixture of asteroids and comets mass distributing materials on the Earth. And it's quite exciting because the asteroids, when they distribute material onto the Earth, some of that was carbon material, some of that could have been the building blocks of life itself. So even
That's
you
what
and
I
I...
was going to say, that even this proves even further the sort of total randomness of how life on Earth began.
Oh,
it literally could be just totally just random comets with the right mixture hitting the Earth as it was just a ball of nothing. And
That's right.
from that,
That's
life
it.
comes.
It's just it. And we just happened to be just the right place.
Wow.
For this to take place. It probably was successful on Mars because Mars lost its atmosphere. Things changed, so everything died out. But we've stayed just right. So yes, it is. It's the exciting part of it. It's an amazing universe when you start doing things like this.
Oh my God, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. Very quickly, because I think we've got about a minute. Scientists have found a tiny new moon around Uranus.
Around Uranus, yes. It's great because it's just been discovered by the Webb telescope. So it's used near-infrared technology to actually have a look at it. This moon is only about 10 kilometres, 6 miles across. It orbits inside all the big moons which are going around Uranus. So it wouldn't have been able to resolve it by any other means, telescopes on the Earth, or by spacecraft, which is Voyager 2 flew past the planet, so because it was far too small. But using near-infrared telescope, we were able to actually identify this as a very small moon, which is very exciting. And it hasn't been named yet, but most of the moons around, all of them bar one, are named after characters in Shakespeare.
They are. I've just noticed that. Cupid,
So
Portia, Ophelia, Rosalind, Bianca.
So I'm going to suggest that this moon, since it goes around Uranus, should be called Bottom.
Oh, that is genius. I'm going to applaud that, Andy Lowndes. It should be called Bottom, definitely. Thank you very much, you wonderful man. Andy Lowndes there, the only space expert in my view. That's it. Right, coming up, of course, we have the front pages of the newspapers for tomorrow, and Cody Darla will be in the studio in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it is Petrie here with you, and with me is the fabulous Cody Darla, comedy writer and host of The Truth in My Opinion podcast, and also he's on TikTok as Mr. Cody Darla.
I am. Hello.
Thrilled you're here.
Likewise.
It literally feels like I only saw you yesterday because I've been off.
Yes, you
So
have.
I saw you today.
Yeah, I think
It feels like...
the last time you were in here, I was also here.
Yeah, I think
I've
so.
not left.
Yeah, you haven't left. You've been here, holding on to the death.
Yeah, exactly. I've been holding the fort. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Honestly, appreciate. I must owe you loads of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll post it.
I'll get my
post it.
people to talk to your people. Now, before we get into the papers, as usual, there's a story I wanted to talk to you about, and that is, why is it, do you think, that we have less faith in British policing than a decade ago? Less than half of us have got faith, which is really worrying.
Yes.
Not to have faith in. Do you have faith in the police? If something happened, you needed to call them, would you have faith?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, I've had a couple of experiences just being around London, which, as we all know, is entirely lawless.
Entirely.
Yeah, like,
according to reform.
I've seen the odd incident, and there's been someone kind of pinned against a wall in handcuffs, whatever, and then there's about 15 police officers.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I'm like, does it need that many people?
Yeah, could some of you leave now?
Yeah, because some of you leave and go and fight some more crime. Like,
Yeah.
it's great that you've been fighting a bit of crime, but I don't think it needs that many of you here. And then, yeah, another kind of, not to get bogged down with details, but another incident, ended up calling the police about this one thing, and they said they couldn't come, and then suddenly someone else had called it in, and there was like 4 police officers, like cars. And so the reason they didn't respond to begin with is because they're like, we don't have any police. And then suddenly there's 4 turning up. It's like, so multiple reasons why I don't have much faith in the police. It's not necessarily a huge amount of distrust. It's just the small insight I've had into them, they just seem a bit rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them around.
Yeah, well, I think visibility is a big thing.
Yeah,
right?
it is a big thing.
They're either not there or they're all there.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes we'll see police vans with loads of them in there, and I wonder,
doing like a carpool.
Yeah, something's happening. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I mean, we just don't. I don't know. It's not that I don't. We've got lots of reasons not to trust the police. Women have.
Oh yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And my niece is, I've got a niece who is 19 years old, and it's like with her now the rules have changed. I'll be saying to her, look, if you're approached by a police officer, make sure if it's a lone man,
yes.
you don't go with them. I mean, that is terrible.
Awful, dreadful.
Awful.
I mean, I would say there's a bit of a swagger to police officers. Like I've found this before, like seeing kind of like young blokes who are policemen, and you'll go up to them for whatever reason, and they've got their kind of thumb in their vest, and they're sort of looking down at you, and I'm like, I wonder
a little bit of power to those people.
I'm like, what changed? Like, what switches from like a young kid that wants to grow up to be like a Bobby, to turning them into this kind of swaggering, kind of, I don't know whether it's like, obviously they're putting their lives in a lot of danger, I think, on the streets and things like that, but the general vibe of police officers I don't think is great.
No, I mean, you used to, I suppose, the days of ye oldie.
Yeah.
You would ask a police officer for directions somewhere.
Yes,
or
he's got
you
rosy
would,
cheeks.
Yes,
he's been at the pub.
Yeah, he's got his
up.
pocket full of donuts, and all of that.
He's staggering about the
slightly
place.
overweight
Yes,
and jolly.
Yes.
And would give you a clip round the ear.
Definitely.
But I don't think they are approachable now,
No.
and I think that is deliberate because they have removed themselves from the streets. They have removed themselves, and now they're relying on what I think is an absolute disgrace, is this facial recognition software now, which has been proven to be racist.
Yep.
It's been proven that it makes horrendous mistakes, and then it's up to the individual to prove they are not the guilty person, which is a complete flip of the law.
Yeah, it's
it
crazy.
used to be that they had to prove we were guilty, and now we have to prove we're innocent.
Yeah,
which is completely wrong.
Well, this kind of, in a way, I think this is kind of a microcosm of so many different things in the public sector, where it's like it goes back to austerity, and you slash all of the funding. You have no police officers. Suddenly, within over a period of years, police have to withdraw just because on a funding basis they can't have that many people policing neighbourhood, conflicts or whatever. So they withdraw from those things, and then suddenly not much improves financially, and then they start leaning on technology that's bust. So it's like, I think, the origins are in the fact that, I hate to, I mean, it seems crazy to go back to Cameron, but I mean, I think it's Cameron and Osborne coming in and slashing everything. And really, from the point they slashed everything, we've kind of slowly been building up, and each government that comes in kind of employs more and more police officers.
But there's also the recruitment of police officers now. There's no Hendon anymore.
Right.
And any courses that, my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's listening, but that any courses that they go on now, they have to pay for themselves.
Oh, really?
So there's the whole training of the police is very different now. You know, if they want to learn forensics or whatever, you know, they'll have to pay for those courses. And also they're recruiting university grads into the officer classes where they've never walked the beat. They've never felt someone's collar, you know, all of that good stuff that you would imagine. I would want a police officer that started off as a grunt.
Yes.
Right, and you want that sergeant or that commissioner to be someone who's come up through the ranks.
And it's kind of, I mean, actually I hadn't thought of it until you just said it there, but yeah, like, I guess the old-fashioned version, the Bobby who's just come out of the pub, it's like he would have been brought up in that area.
Exactly.
He's a kind of known figure.
Yeah. And there'd be a police station there and probably a police
They know the area, they know the people. And maybe that's not the best thing for, like, delivering justice, maybe. But I think, that the world is changing, isn't it? Or the world has changed, where it's like there is now a disconnect between police officers who police an area and their connection to it.
Yeah.
Before you even get into the weeds of, someone's just been parachuted in from Cambridge
some snot.
as an officer.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Studied classics.
Standing there suddenly telling a 40-year-old veteran what to do on the street. It's like the army officers, isn't it? Coming in.
It is.
They know absolutely flap all.
Yes.
And they're telling the soldiers what to do. In fact, actually, that isn't the truth. The real truth is that the sergeants run it all. The sergeants tell the officers, and then the officers tell the boys, and the sergeants stand there and go, "Well done, son." That's the truth. Nobody will tell you that, but that is the truth. Always make friends with the sergeant. They'll sort you out. That's what in Bosnia and places like, and in Somalia, sergeants. Hi, Sarge.
See, people come away with life lessons from your show.
If ever you're in a war zone, make friends with the sergeant.
Bosnia, make friends with the police sergeant as quickly as possible.
Any sergeant, they're always the ones that know what's going on and can get you bottles of whiskey and stuff like that as well.
I might get that tattooed on my arm just to remember.
Just forget the officer class. It's just not worth it. It's a shame. It really, but it's also worrying because if we lose faith in the police, that leads to people policing themselves, and that is obviously vigilantism is not the way forward. But did you see this story about this police officer here who he stole a woman's underwear?
Oh yes,
while
I did
searching
see that.
her home.
Yeah, I did see that.
That's got to be in your news report if you don't want to be a dummy.
Yeah, I should actually.
I like your news reports.
Yeah, thank you. It's so hard.
He literally went into a woman's knicker drawer, which is sacred, right?
Yeah.
And took out a pair of pants and put it.
But again, it's like it's disgusting behaviour. But it's like the police is how many hundreds of thousands of people work for the police? I mean, in every organisation, you've got awful people. I think it's like it's just public facing.
Here he is, Cody. Can you see on the screen here? Like, he's just gonna. I mean, it's just such a total violation. Any woman will tell you about a knicker drawer. It's a total violation. Look at this. Look, there he goes.
Jeez. It's so. That's what I mean. What motivates that person to go into the police force?
I'm sorry if you're listening on radio, but there's an image of him. There's obviously CCTV in that bedroom. I don't know why, or maybe it's a nanny cam or something. And he's literally taking a pair of pants from her knicker drawer and shoving them in his back pocket. Yeah. And he left the property still with them. He's gone to prison, and he's now resigned from the police service. Yeah. But still, that is a total violation.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, of course. Yeah.
Of everything.
Yeah.
It's just like, nah.
Yeah.
And it's things like that, I'm afraid, and people are seen now.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is, I guess, another part of the debate. Now police officers wearing cameras, you see each transgression. It's broadcast live on the internet. And again, and they're often, again, that's not me excusing them. They're often horrific.
They are often horrific, and they should be called out on it.
Absolutely, and they should be. Yeah.
It is such a worry when I have to say to my niece, if it's a solo male police officer, you don't go with them.
Yeah, it's appalling.
Ask for his superior or her superior. You know, if it's a woman, you're probably safer, but ask for somebody else to join before you're,
I know, what
awful.
A sorry state of affairs.
It really is very, very sad. Let's have a look at American papers.
Speaking of sorry states of affairs,
oh gosh,
America.
Same-sex couples still living in fear. This is, exhausting and terrifying. That's how Jeremy Atherton and Atherton Lynn described the appeal that seeks to overturn the Obergefell v Hodges statute. It's a 10-year-old Supreme Court ruling that legalised same-sex marriage in the United States. They're looking to overturn that in the same way they overturned Roe v Wade, which nobody thought they would overturn, but they did. So a lot of same-sex married couples in America now are terrified that their marriages will be voided, and therefore any children they may have adopted, or, I mean, this goes deeper than just a marriage, say just a marriage being voided. This is disgusting. What the hell?
Well, yes, I mean, it's the overtaking of right-wing ideology in America, isn't it?
It's the Christian.
Yeah, the Christian right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, this story also it goes on to say that this particular married couple sued. Basically, an individual refused to marry them, and they sued them for $100,000. So I think if they overturn this Supreme Court ruling, they'll have to pay that back, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, this right-wing Christian resurgence is being enabled unbelievably from the top when you think of Trump as the most un-Christian man possible. But yeah, I mean, it soaks into everything, doesn't it? Like you said, it began with Roe versus Wade. They're starting to chip away at women's rights, and
women have been described in the open on television as vessels.
Right. It's like Handmaid's Tale, isn't it?
Somebody said women are people that bear people, that give birth to people. It doesn't take a genius to have children.
Yes.
And they're just a vessel.
Yeah.
And that's a far-right Christian fundamentalist.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's
terrifying.
Again, just every ideology, the ideology of the moment in America is right-wing. And I mean, but before you even get into the fact that America is just far more right-wing than most European nations, because obviously they're all very religious on all sides of the political spectrum.
But it's really interesting, isn't it, the battle to keep religion out of politics, which I firmly believe is the right thing. I don't even believe in religious schools. I believe in children being taught about religion, but not in religion. I think children should be able to grow up and make their own minds up about religion. And that goes for all religious schools that I'm against. And I think that Northern Ireland proved they don't work, right? It's really, really scary. Religion needs to be as far away from politics as humanly possible.
And they have an official separation of church and state.
Well, except they've now got a Christian centre in the White House, and they hold prayer meetings.
Yes, I mean, there's loads of Netflix documentaries about those kind of clandestine...
They speak in tongues.
Yeah,
I don't...
I mean, while the rest of the world was undergoing a scientific revolution in the 17th century, America were burning witches. So it's kind of, we've got the equivalent here. So it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Rats are going nuts at California almond orchards. This is rodent expert Roger Baldwin. Sounds very British, actually. Used to get fewer than one yearly inquiry about rat issues. But now his phone keeps buzzing with dozens of requests from farmers, journalists and others seeking his expertise amid the unprecedented phenomenon. A massive assault by rats on the state's $4.7 billion almond industry. I wonder if this is to do with the almonds not being picked in time, maybe, because the farmers have gone? I don't know what.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a good sign, is it? The rise of rats.
It's never a good sign.
It's never a good sign. The kind of pestilence. We've got, the rise of the Christian right, and now suddenly rats are eating all the almonds.
Yeah,
Is that in Leviticus or something?
Probably.
That's a scary sign.
That's the one just before the toads and the locusts,
That's it,
isn't
and
it?
the locusts.
Yeah.
It's
rats first.
The rats and almond story.
But they found a rat I think it was in Birmingham, that was the size of a dog.
Yeah.
Did you ever read any of the James Herbert books?
No.
Oh, my God. Don't.
No, it's just full of rats.
Horrifying. Well, it was called The Rats.
Okay.
And then there was a sequel to it as well. But I don't know why I read them, but I did. I literally read everything as a kid anyway. But horrific. So rats and I are not friends.
Yes. I don't think anyone likes a... Well,
you see a lot of them in London, though.
Yes. I mean, no one likes a rat, but there's the odd weird friend, I think, in most circles that gets a rat at some point, like a pet rat.
Did you know that in Central Park, There are a group of people who go out hunting rats with a bow and arrows.
That seems safe.
Yeah, well, no, they are actually, they're not pointed arrows. They're flat arrows.
Oh.
And they shoot them at the rats, which will kill them probably, but they're not dangerous to other life. But yeah, there's this group of people that do it as a hobby.
Oh.
They
Okay.
go
I mean, that's probably
rat killing.
not the wildest thing you'll see in
So
Central
if you see
Park.
people in Central Park, yeah, probably not.
Probably not. That's
In Central
completely
Park
normal.
with a bow and arrow, don't fret unless you're a rat, and then run. Run like the wind. No, the thing that upsets me is when I see a rat with half a tail. I don't know why.
Oh.
It just makes me.
Well, it's a bit like when you see pigeons with like stump feet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not nice.
It's not nice,
not
is it?
nice. There's a lot of
What about
grim
these-
animals out
What
there.
about these rabbits at the moment with horns?
Oh, no, the tentacle
Yes.
rabbits. Yes, again, it's not looking good. Someone
What
needs
is
to get their
happening?
Bible verses out
Yeah,
and find these weird.
Is that the next one? And then
Yes.
there's deer now they've found in America with
Oh, God.
big warts all over. I mean, it's just what is happening? It's climate change.
Yes, I'm sure
must
it
be.
probably is. There's also there's stories of monkeys kidnapping other monkeys. And
Oh,
yeah,
yes, I did
capuchins.
see that.
And then there was orcas are wearing salmon as hats. They are, the
are
animals
not.
are acting very weird.
So how are they wearing a salmon as a hat?
Apparently, this article I read about monkeys kidnapping monkeys really harrowing.
That is
it was
true.
It was like they had to add this kind of like slightly light-hearted coda where they were like, okay, yeah, these monkeys are killing each other, but orcas are wearing salmon as hats.
Dead salmon.
They're dead salmon. There's
Why?
no. They don't know. They don't know.
Do they look fetching in them?
I think the running theory is that they it's fashion, yeah, that it's fashion.
Yeah, it's last season's fashion. Isn't it? It's
There's-
lobsters this
They
year.
have no idea why they're doing it. And chimpanzees are making earrings out of grass.
Ah,
I'm telling you, it's all going down in the animal
it's all
kingdom.
happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully, one of them will just take over humanity, and we'll be.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Right, fingers
I
crossed.
mean, we've already got a chimpanzee in the White House.
We've got to find an orca wearing a salmon as a hat, guys. Come
please
on,
do it.
that is your job, Adam. Now, as an orca with a salmon as a hat.
Please, it
Thank
will
you.
just cheer us all
It will
up. I
just
think.
make us all
Yeah.
smile with this dreadful news at the moment. On that note, let's take a quick break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, we're still trying to find a picture of an orca wearing a salmon as a hat. And I've also been told that octopuses... Is it octopi?
Octopi.
Is
yeah.
it? Genuinely?
Like a big octopi. Yeah. I think
I'm not
so.
sure about that.
Octopuses.
Is it octopuses or octopi?
So many layers
Right.
to these animal stories.
There's so many layers, but apparently they're building cities now that they live in together, probably to keep out the salmon.
The salmon that are on the
Yeah.
orca's head.
Oh, yes. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they don't like it. They don't like other creatures. Who knows? Right, let's have a look at the papers. Stop mucking about. The Metro for Thursday. Cult priest. I mean, you just know where this headline is
Yes,
going.
say
don't
no
you?
more.
You literally
Say no
could
more.
end that. I
Yeah.
should run a competition. Guess
You really
the
should,
ending
yeah, fill
to
in the
that
blank.
sentence. But for the for the sense of expediency, it's a cult priest guilty of 17 sex crimes.
Yes.
9 o'clock service founder, never heard of it, former leader of a religious rave cult.
Yes, it's like
backed by the Church of England.
Yes, I know. Can you believe that? It's basically, a Christian rave that was set up in the 80s, obviously, to attract younger worshippers. And he was, I guess, the DJ. But yeah, properly affiliated to the Church of England. And yeah, clearly, I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. Clearly guilty.
I mean, when hasn't a cult leader abused women and girls?
Yeah, I mean, you could get rid of cult leader, just say the Church of England, really.
I mean,
it's any church.
Well, certainly the Catholic Church have had their issues, but you know, and the we know as a Christian church as well. It's such a worry, isn't it? It's a position of absolute power and control that these men have, and then there are those people who just abuse that. But this man, who is now 68, has been found guilty of sexually assaulting 9 women, and the jury found him guilty of 17 indecent assaults while he led the movement in Sheffield. It cleared him of 15 other counts of indecent assault and is still deliberating on 4 counts of indecent assault and 1 of rape. So, seriously, I mean, it's such an embarrassment to the Church of England.
Yeah, well, I mean, they rack up, though, don't they? I mean, there's always it's not to diminish the importance of this story, but I mean, they just keep coming.
Yeah, what is it about?
I think you're right. I think they're institutions of power that people who are hungry for that kind of thing and want to exploit people. And
I think they probably attract that sort of person who then gets carried away with that power and respect that they're shown.
Yeah.
I mean, the same can be said of the police, can't it? Really.
Well, again, any institution of power, I think. Yeah. When you're especially, I mean, if you're running a Christian rave filled with young girls. God, and then I mean that is.
I mean,
just...
back in the 80s, I was telling my son this. I said, what you don't understand about the 80s in London, right, is and sort of that sort of at the end of the 80s in London, is that we were always warned about cults. That outside almost every train station, I promise you, anyone who lived in London in the late 80s will be nodding at this. There were leaders of cults, all sorts of different cults. Trying to recruit young people.
Really?
Yeah, and it was absolutely massive. It was the one thing, you know, because I moved to London really young, but and I lived in King's Cross, which was a bit of a rough area at the time. They'd just cleaned it up from prostitution, but you'd get off the train at King's Cross and there would be groups of people smiling at you with that sort of blank stare, saying, "Are you on your own in London?"
Really?
Yeah, and all these young people with backpacks and, you know, whatever. I was a bit more savvy. I was meeting a mate who had a flat in King's Cross, so I was like back away. But when you're very young and you're very alone in London, it was all the rage.
Like religious cults.
Religious cults. Cults of all types. There were so many in London at the time.
Crikey.
And they were all, you know, like there'd be some Indian yogi, or there'd be some, you know, somebody like this would have been exactly that, going, "Are you on your own? Come and join this really hip, trendy
You're there
group
with the
of
salmon
people.
on your
We're
head.
a hair, a family." I'll wear a salmon if it makes you feel better. You know, there's all of that.
Yeah.
So, but it was huge.
That's crazy.
In sort of late 80s, early 90s, and if you remember that as well, send me a message. But that was always what you were warned about: is don't join a cult.
Well, that makes complete sense then why it's affiliated to the Church of England. I mean, Church of England, they're never going to miss out on a trend.
No.
If they see everyone's getting into cults, of course they're going to have one of their own.
Honestly, you'd be stopped outside a major train station or a bus station a couple of times if you were walking through by people trying to recruit you into a cult. It was very strange times.
Now it's just the Jehovah's
and
Witnesses
we've all
left.
lived through it. We all survived. I didn't join one. Although my father thought I had when I became vegetarian for about 3 weeks. He took me to one side and said, "Have you joined a cult?" I went, "No." "Why are you vegetarian?"
Finally got you.
I just decided. But anyway, the Financial Times for Thursday. Unexpected acceleration in inflation widens the gap. So we've gone up again to 3.8%, way far away from the 2%, which is the Bank of England's aim or goal. And I think everybody feels it. We all know it's expensive, right? Shopping.
Yes.
We've talked about this before.
I mean, this is just one a bad economic headline amongst many as we go through the front pages.
This is terrible for Rachel McCann.
Yes, it's not. It's not good. It's not good. But
and
I mean,
it's bad for us in the budget.
I mean that's not news to anyone. We all know the budget's going to be bad. But I don't understand. I mean, I'm an economics illiterate, but it seems to me the Bank of England is constantly saying we want to lower interest rates, and they never do it. And then something happens and they don't do it. It's been like that for as long as I think my brain's been functioning.
Yeah, well, with inflation rising, they need to keep control of interest rates.
Right.
So they're not likely to drop, because then people spend more and then that increases.
If the interest rates drop, oh, I see, people spend more.
Yeah.
So that higher interest rates encourages people to save.
No, well, usually, yes. Well, higher interest rates stop.
Because they just dropped my interest rate in my bank.
Yeah.
So interest rates are going down.
My savings interest rate has gone up. Down. Yeah, because they want more money.
Yeah.
But if you've got a mortgage,
right,
then and the interest rate goes up, you've got less spending power.
Yes, of course. And so that's by design. So they put the interest rates up to stop you spending to keep inflation down.
Yeah.
That's not on.
But also the inflationary pressure isn't coming from people overspending. It's coming from the immovable expenses like gas and electricity.
Right.
So it's been bouncing along the idea of stagflation, which is a different type of inflation completely, which is because normally inflationary, it means everybody is going out and buying very expensive things and expensive holidays and things like that.
Yeah.
So they dampen that down to stop the spending, to keep inflation down. But what's happening is that people have got these immovable expenses that keep going up in price, which then increases inflation. But there are also things like holidays have massively impacted inflation because of fuel costs.
Right, but this is crazy. I mean, this is just like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the inflation goes up and you're encouraging people not to spend, then the economy contracts, and then the next headline comes along, and then it's the economy's not grown, and then we need to get the economy growing, and then that puts inflation up.
Which is why the Bank of England or the Bank of America as well have been. Trump wants them to lower interest rates.
What I'm hearing is we need to overturn capitalism. Is that what you're saying here on Talk Radio?
The only trouble is that of all the systems, capitalism is the best one.
Well, it's the only one that's been around for a while.
Well, communism, look at
I don't know, there
Russia
might be a new one that comes along. The tentacled rabbits might come up with something.
Well, they might, you never know.
This is crazy.
This is nuts. It is nuts. And the inflationary pressures it's been so unfair because it's not anything that we're wildly spending on. It's the cost of things that we're have to spend on keep going up. It's mainly fuel. If you think of fuel going up, your electricity, your gas bill,
the greedy companies.
The greedy companies making their profits, the cost of transporting food, that goes up, so food goes up, and so it's not we're on a raging spending.
So what chancellor is going to get a grip of this then?
Not Rachel Reeves.
Sure, but what
she needs to borrow more money.
Right.
And that would keep the markets happier.
Right.
But
we all know what the markets want. More money.
It is an absolute mess, and every day it gets worse for.
No wonder she looks
Rachel.
so stressed.
Oh my God!
My blood pressure's gone up just having that explained to me.
Mine's gone up explaining it. Don't worry. Let's take a quick break. Back in a sec.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, and it is Petrie. And with me is the fabulous Cody Darla, comedy writer and host of The Truth in My Opinion podcast. And you can find him on TikTok and under Mr. Cody Darla. The I for Thursday. Labour councils threaten new legal action over asylum seeker hotels. Now, this is 7 councils, including 2 run by Labour, are considering legal action against asylum hotels in their areas after a court ruled an Essex hotel breached the law. Now, it was some planning law, it was some finickety, probably subsection 2A30 or whatever in planning law that they hadn't ticked the right box on, which managed to get it closed down. But other councils now are looking at their hotels because, of course, the people who pay their wages are not happy with these hotels.
That's right.
And the people in them taking the resources from locals.
Yeah. Are they? I mean...
Well, things like doctor's appointments,
right,
even school places, and pressure on housing and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, this is the big story, isn't it, today, basically, where this is kind of Labour's, sort of hotel policy up in tatters. But, I mean, since Labour came in, the number of hotels being used to house asylum seekers has halved. So I'm kind of a little bit suspicious that this is kind of a right-wing talking point, that they've seen the numbers of people being housed in hotels coming down, and now there's a kind of flash mob to send this right to the top of the news agenda again and put it straight back in the lap of Keir Starmer, which is obviously an issue they're not comfortable with.
Yeah, do you know, I think it's an accumulation of people being housed in those hotels for much longer than they should be.
Right.
And people in the local area seeing even more people coming in to those hotels, and of course the daily reports on the number of boats coming in. And there is a level at which people, even the most welcoming, will say, hang on a minute, this is how can we afford this? You know, if you're going to put my tax up, if you're going to take money away from my family, then you know, what are you doing to get a control on this? And I think that most people in Britain are decent people who recognise that amongst those there will be those who genuinely need our help and support.
Yeah. Well, also it's
and
proven
there will be
that's
those
the case, isn't it? The vast majority get their asylum.
But there are those there that aren't.
Yes.
And that frustration is being driven by what Keir Starmer seems to be lacking doing.
Yeah.
And that is this, you know, hitting the gangs or whatever it is a abject failure.
Sure. I mean, there are 2 elements to this story, isn't there? The one you've touched on there, which is there seems to be a growing public impatience with the idea of migrants in general, and then there's the more immediate practical one, which is what the government is now having to face, which is what if you can't house people in hotels, where do you house them? So you know, we can't kick them out onto the street, then there's going to be a homelessness problem. So this again feels to me as a slightly strange story, where obviously the right are hailing this as a massive success, and reform councils across the country are now saying they're going to follow in the you know the example of Epping Forest, which is a Conservative run council, and they're going to kick everyone out. And now a couple of Labour councils are saying they're doing the same again, which is like blue Labour up in the north.
Yeah.
It doesn't answer the question of where they're going to be housed.
No.
So this isn't a huge victory. This is just another administrative headache. Admittedly, the Home Office has to deal with it, but it's not this kind of, oh, whoop-de-doo, now it's not costing us anything. Because they're not going to be kicked out onto the street. There's going to be a cost attached to the fact that these people are coming into the country in the way they're doing across the channel. Again, we can have a discussion about how the vast majority of their asylum is accepted. They're not just grafters, but it's a big question. If you can't use a hotel, what do you use?
I absolutely agree, and nobody can come up with an answer. People say, "Oh, just chuck it," but that's not going to happen. There would be a crisis of homelessness. There would be a wave of criminality.
Exactly.
There would be potentially waves of diseases that we haven't got a control on.
Yeah.
You know, that's why things are done in the way. But I can understand people's frustration when an asylum hotel opens up in a small area, and there just seems no end
Yes.
to the waves of people that are coming through, and I can understand that frustration and the frustration with the government failure. But I was reading in one of the papers, I can't remember which one, that there's now been a deal done with Iraq.
Yes, a returns policy
with Iraq, so that Iraqi men and women will be returned to Iraq. They wouldn't, because it's no longer at war.
Yes. We're no longer at war with it. Yes.
But there was fighting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. But this is a headache for Starmer.
It is, and I think it shows how the lack of sensibleness around the issue.
But that's his fault.
I agree. I'm not saying it's anyone. I mean,
they have failed to communicate.
Yes, I agree.
Labour, and they have failed to make any significant noise about what they really plan to do.
That's right.
This.
But this has been an issue under the Tories.
Oh God, yeah.
And now it's a continuing issue under Labour. But again, because we've got people like Farage and Reform UK who are just saying we're going to turf them all out when they won't be able to do that.
Well, they won't be able to do that.
They literally in law won't be able to do that. We don't have a sensible debate around this issue. So we can't have a sensible debate around, OK, we'll close some asylum hotels. Now what do we do?
Exactly.
No one knows because the debate isn't sensible.
No. And you're absolutely right, and that's the thing, because the debate stops at we'll kick them out.
Exactly. We're happy with kicking them out, but don't ask where they're going next.
And don't ask if we actually can do that, because we can't.
Yeah.
I mean, even those ones, the hotels that are closing down, all those people that are in there are going to have to be moved to another hotel somewhere else. So, they're not just going to be kicked out onto the streets. The Daily Telegraph. The state has failed white working-class pupils.
Yeah.
Education Secretary appalled at English and maths standards ahead of GCSE results.
Yeah, I thought this was quite interesting in terms of, again, the framing of this argument. I mean, poor English and maths GCSE results. Why it has to be framed as failing the white working class, I'm not sure. I mean, if they're talking about funding in certain areas that are impoverished areas that may be white areas. I mean, again, I'm not sure how helpful it is to say it's failing the white working class. We're talking about poverty. The government needs to do more to address poverty rather than racialising the issue of poverty.
I mean, there is also the you often read with these things is that the children of immigrants who are given a gifted a free education, their parents will make them blooming well work hard at it, and maybe there is a sense of it's just school.
Maybe
in some cases, Again,
I don't know, because it's not a like that might be the case, but that can't be the case for all white families. Do you know what I mean?
No.
There's something deeper going on here that is not just if you're born white, you're not going to do well in maths and English. There's clearly a problem within those areas. That again, probably like our discussion about the police earlier, probably bottom line goes down to funding structures and money for education.
Yeah, and maybe, like you said, the white working class pupils, maybe they're in those areas where there's schools are failing and they're not getting the money. They've got asbestos in the roof and they're working in a porter cabin. You just don't know.
Yeah.
It usually all tends to come back to poverty, doesn't it? New prostate cancer examination clears a way for screening. A new system to detect prostate cancer could help pave the way for an introduction of a new form of screening. The model introduced by the Royal Marsden means men with the suspected disease get a far more comprehensive assessment before undergoing scans. This reduces the number of false positives and spares more men from undergoing needless biopsies. This is really good news.
Yeah.
Anything that gets men to go and get themselves checked is a good thing.
I mean, that is, I guess, what this maybe doesn't tackle, which is men going in the first place.
I always nag my listeners. I've made several of them go and get checked. Honestly, over the phone.
You've saved their lives.
I've said go and don't be a coward.
Yeah.
Don't die of embarrassment.
It's true.
There's a certain age group of men that will not go for embarrassment.
I mean, that is the history of being British, I think. The number of British people over the hundreds of years they've existed that have died just not to be embarrassed, I think is God, it's going to be millions.
It's got to be.
It's got to be millions.
I think particularly British men.
Particularly British men. The Rest is History did a great podcast on the Titanic, and they were talking about the number of men on the Titanic who they didn't want to cause a fuss or embarrass themselves by asking where the lifeboats were, so they just drowned.
That's yeah.
That captures Britishness.
It really does. I mean, I think as women we're kind of used to lots of intrusive and objectionable scans and prods and things, particularly if you've had a child. But it's. I think women are much better at that sort of stuff, but men, I find
terrible. I mean, I think I'm
really embarrassed about stuff.
I'm one of them. I think men have a bit of a Superman complex. They're like, oh, it won't be me. I'll be fine.
If you'd had my cold, you'd have had man flu. I'm telling you.
And I have man flu all the time. I don't. The slightest illness and I feel dreadful.
Really?
I'm a real man flu sufferer.
Does your girlfriend indulge it?
Well, do you know what? I think she gets man flu as well.
Oh, does she?
There's been quite an... I'm like, it's just a cold. Grow up. So we both kind of enjoy man flu together.
Nice. No, I think that it's anything is good in this screening for men, and it's about time, really. I just want to say before we go to the next break, there's a big fuss being created. I'm so bored of the attention that is paid to women's looks. It really hacks me off. Karen Brady's astonishing glow up. This is above the title. This is Karen Brady, famous for running a football club. I can't remember which one, but anyway.
West Ham, I think.
And she's perhaps, I don't know if she's had work. She looks beautiful. Maybe she's had some work done. Maybe she's lost some weight. I don't know. I don't care. It's up to her. And people are going, oh, she shouldn't have done it. What's she done to herself? It's just the way somebody looks.
Yeah.
Why are people so obsessed with the way women look?
Yeah, I don't know. You're telling me. I mean, I did think they were two different people, to be fair. Yeah. She looks very different.
She does look very different. But women are either too fat or too thin, or too old or too young. Oh, mind you, they're never too young, are they?
Especially if you're in the Church of England.
Yeah, exactly. Or Epstein Island.
Yes.
But it's just that obsession all the time. This is a woman who was a breakthrough as a woman running a major football team, and they're going on about the way she looks.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's pathetic.
Yeah. You're never going to stop it.
It'll be other women. I'm not saying it's men doing it. It's other women that do it, mostly. It's boring. Stop. Grow up.
Here.
Quick break. We'll be back in a second.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. I wasn't there for a second. I don't know where I went, but I'm back. It's Petrie with you and the wonderful Cody Darla, comedy writer and host of the Truth in My Opinion podcast. Give it a listen. Now it's time for News with a Wink.
Hello.
Daily Star's new tagline is News with a Wink,
Right.
which has got to be the worst tagline in the history of the world.
That's for their entire paper.
Yeah.
Their new slogan is News with
News
a Wink.
with a Wink. Ugh.
Okay.
Who came up with that? Seriously.
Yes,
News
I can
with
think
a
of
wink.
another word that starts with a W. That's tragic.
And it has a K in it as well. Interesting. Anyway, stop crying your heart out, which is quite a good line, and that's probably the only reason this story is on the front page.
Very
Nation
winky headline.
yeah, Nation is struggling with Oasis blues after epic summer of reunion gigs. Wonder Whale. Really?
Yes, I'm sure they'll be tearing up at all the money they've made.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
weeping all round.
Yeah, they managed to hold it together though, didn't they? I think
They
a lot
did.
of people were disappointed they didn't fall out on stage.
That's what people were really paying
Yeah,
for, isn't it? They
that's
just
what they
wanted to see Liam lamped by a bass
Punching each
guitar.
other. yeah, just punching each other. The Sun covers Keir Starmer. He's unlikely to be in the country to read it, but there you go. The Daily Express. Households will pay £300 a year more under Labour as price cap set to rise again. Millions face energy bills rip-off. And this is what I was talking about with the economy.
Yes.
It's things like this that we have no choice but to pay,
Yeah.
which is pushing inflation up.
Yes. Again, but it's greedy energy companies, right? There's nothing the government can do about that. It's privatised. If they want to put the prices up, it's not Labour's fault.
No,
They
but
should-
there's also supply problems around the world with Russia.
Fine.
That has been a major issue.
But I mean, Labour shouldn't promise not for energy prices not to rise then, because they don't have any control over it.
Well, they can put a cap on it, but it doesn't make any difference really. So they can. Well, it's not them actually. It's
Do they have to pay the difference? Why don't they just
no,
put a cap on it?
I
then?
don't
For
understand
God's
it.
sake.
But it's also the futures market. So people are having to buy months in advance, and with the uncertainty with Russia and Ukraine, and the idea of tariffs on Russia if they keep selling to India and to China.
You're back to explaining a very complicated system to me.
But I will. Do you want me to?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So if these extra tariffs, like 100% tariffs, are put on India and China
Yes.
for buying Russian gas and oil, then they might seek to buy gas and oil from other countries that are not being tariffed 100%.
Yes.
Which will push the price of gas and oil up. So the futures market,
see.
which they have to buy in advance, will be looking at what could possibly be the price in 6 months' time.
And they're
or a
charging
year's
us that
time.
now?
Yeah. Or they will have to pay that now.
Right.
So, but that will kick in 6 months' time for us. Even if that hasn't happened, they've already had to pay it at the higher price.
And again, just a reminder, capitalism is the best system.
It's the best system we've got.
Wow.
I know.
What
I know.
a primitive bunch of creatures
really,
we are.
Really. Apparently, we can't find any genuine pictures of orcas wearing salmon hats.
Are you implying I've made that up?
But we do have some images of animals wearing animals.
Well, that's what a salmon is. A salmon is an animal.
It's a fish. Right, I want to see an animal wearing an animal. Animals wear animals. Oh, it's a bird wearing a...
That looks like a stoat riding a bird.
That is not real.
It's not a jacket. Oh, Timon and Pumbaa? That
a
looks
meerkat
like AI.
on a warthog.
That's AI, isn't it? Surely. These are animals on animals. They're not animals
They're
wearing
them.
animals.
They're sort of wearing them. They don't wear them. But anyway, I will be searching for an orca wearing a salmon
Definitely.
hat at some point. Right, so that's energy. I've explained that to you. Got
Thank
that?
you. Yeah, got that.
You've understood that, right?
Thank you. This is my hour of revision of just being a grown-up.
Yeah, I know, it's horrible, isn't it?
Horrible.
So let's have a look at The Guardian. Israel says it will expand Gaza City offensive. I don't think there's any surprise there. I think that Bibi has made that clear. That's what he planned to do.
With growing protests in Israel
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a slightly promising reminder
he's in trouble if he stops, and he's in trouble if he continues. If he stops, he could go to prison, and if he doesn't, then it'll be tipping into very dangerous territory for him. But you know, that again covers the Labour councils joining a revolt over Asylum Hotel. Let's look at the Times. Everything's better with company, even reading. No man is an island.
Yeah, this apparently they've done a survey of 40,000 Americans. So, you know, take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
2010, 2012, 2013 and 2021. And they found that even reading is more enjoyable when you do it with someone.
Rubbish.
Assuming if that person doesn't interrupt. I think it's the idea, like,
Maybe they're
closest
having
to
read too. Peter and Jane books.
I think the article is that they have reading parties where you go and sit in silence and read, and that's more enjoyable. I mean, that's a library, isn't it? I don't find reading in a library any more enjoyable just because there's someone there.
Do you know what I find? I find doing anything alone is way better than
There you go. You're the
other human
They
being.
need to do this survey with Brits, and they get very different results.
Very, very different results
very different
about
results.
that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
No,
maybe
I
says
mean,
more about the
I've always got my dogs, so you know, and the cat, so I'm never really alone. But I
No, I agree. I don't want someone breathing down my neck when I'm trying to read.
No.
Trying to learn how to read.
What are you reading? Explaining the economy to you. It's just awful.
I'm trying to read The Economy for Dummies.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not good. And the Mirror. What's going on in... this is awful. We don't want to live like this. This is a refugee brutalised by Somali terrorists has told how migrant hotels protests are deepening the trauma of terrified residents.
Yeah.
This is Kardar Mohammed, 24, who has asylum, said he was living in fear at the Bell in Epping, Essex. I mean, this is the other thing, is for those genuine refugees, they have come from horrendous, you know, particularly if you're looking at certain areas in Africa at the moment, Somalia, with the awful civil war and awful fighting and ISIS raising their head again. And they've come here to seek asylum. And I know there'll be people going, oh, I don't care.
Yes.
These people are being re-traumatised by this.
Totally, yeah. Well, this is it. Again, the majority of people are granted real asylum. They're not chancers, and now they're being turfed out.
Yeah.
Because
there are some horrendous things going on around the world that most of us don't pay attention to. Right, the story I wanted to talk to you about.
I can't wait for this.
You were sort of a little bit... what's the word? You went, well, you don't go on holidays, so... You know,
this is me to you.
Yeah,
yeah. You don't go on holidays.
I don't go on holidays. I've explained off. I don't like holidays. I found this. Comforts we miss on holiday. This is a story.
Okay.
There's holidays abroad are all about escapism and getting away from the routine back home. But it appears the thrill of the new lasts only 5 days, and that's when we start to miss the comforts from home. But 1 in 5 of us has even been tempted to cut a break short just to get back home.
No.
Yes. And this is a poll of 2,000 British holidaymakers, discovered that for 52% of them, the thought of going home was the best part of the holiday.
No way.
Yeah, true. The best part about going away is coming home. More than 60% said that sleeping in their own bed was the thing they missed the most, while 44% said it was familiar routines, 39% said their pets, and 26% said friends back home.
So is this after the 5 days, or is this in general?
This is in general. I am not alone. I'm just brave enough to come out and say it. It's like when I rather put my head on the block by saying I've never liked the Beatles, right? That's a scary thing to admit.
God.
No, I don't. Stones, yes, love them, but
Okay,
Beatles, no. Some of their songs, great, whatever, but I never got it. I mean, I am too young for that.
You are
anyway.
too young, yeah.
But I'm right about holidays, and I'm the only one brave enough to admit it. There are others hanker after their favourite TV shows while they're away.
Oh, well, surely people can watch that on their phones now.
27%.
How old are these people being surveyed? Need to get back for the wireless.
They missed their garden. 25% of them missed their own garden.
These are definitely older people they're surveying.
A further 8% bought their own pillows to use in a hotel.
Oh, come on.
3/4 of people feel there is indeed no place like home. And 38% would transport their abode to their holiday destination if they could.
Yeah, I get that.
What is the point in having a really nice home and going away on holiday?
Well, I think that last statistic gets to the heart of it. It's like you're going for, the surroundings and the weather, most people. Like, no, obviously,
I like
no one
my
wants...
surroundings. I've made my surroundings really pretty and nice. I've got my artwork, I've got my art studio, I've got my jungle garden.
You present a very strong case.
Thank you.
But I must admit, I think the people... I've been there as well, where you're at the end of the holiday and you're like, if I could be transported home now, I want it over with now.
I hate
most
airports.
people are like that.
I hate other people.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much about... and also I travelled a lot when I was younger for work as a reporter.
Yes.
But 43% of Brits took time off work to enjoy a quiet staycation at home.
Yeah, yes. I think that is quite common. People just take a week off and lounge about the house.
Yes, because you've got the house how you want it. Why?
You never... There's nothing like a kind of... like a hotel buffet? That doesn't do anything for you?
I do my own. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cody Darla. I just thought I'd, let you know I'm not alone.
Yes, that's great.
Wonderful to see you. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yes.
I won't be going on holiday, so that's fine.
I am.
Cody Darla there, you'll regret it. Comedy writer and host of The Truth, in my opinion, podcast. Make sure you give that a listen and check him out on TikTok as well. Mr. Cody Darley is very funny. Right, now coming up, it's just you and me, and we're going to be talking about the police service. And I want to know what you think is going wrong with British policing. And is it just British policing, or is it also the British justice system? Because I think the two go hand in hand. Have you lost faith in the police? It's not the same as trust, is it? But have you lost faith in the police? And if so, why? And what do you think has gone so wrong in the last 10 years that more than half of us now no longer have faith in this institution? Stay where you are, give me a call.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good morning to you. It is Petrie here. Excuse me, I'm a little bit croaky. It is Petrie here with you for the next hour. And big question for this morning is, why have you lost faith in the police service? What is going wrong with policing in this country that 51% of us now no longer have faith in the police? And I think that is different to trust. I think it is slightly different to trust. Faith is something slightly different. But faith in the police has tumbled now to a historic low in the past decade, a landmark review has found. 11% reported seeing a police officer on local foot patrol in a week. That's down from 29% a decade ago. 49% of people think police are doing a good or excellent job. That's the lowest on record. 63% felt the criminal justice system is fair. That's a decrease from 69% at its peak in 2018. And 51% victims of crime who were pleased with the police response, far lower than the 75% in 2014, and the lowest figure since the question was first asked in 1992. So the findings are not good. They are, in fact, pretty disastrous for the police. And at the same time, there's all sorts of odd policing decisions being made. There's lots of claims of two-tier justice, two-tier policing as well. The findings were published by the Office of National Statistics using data from its annual crime survey of people aged 16 and over. Show only around 11% of residents said they had seen police or community support officers on a foot patrol locally at least once a week. When was the last time you saw police foot patrol in your area? I'm trying to think. It was probably about 2 months ago, and they were community police. They weren't police. They weren't proper police. And they were checking out the bins. I don't know. Why have we lost faith in policing in this country? I mean, I'm losing faith in the fact that they have retreated from us. They no longer know who we are. They no longer know who's in their local area. And they seem to be relying even more and more on technology now. And that is very concerning to me. It's very concerning. And the Met is defending live facial recognition that they're going to be using at Carnival this year. Now, we already know that these facial recognition systems, it's been absolutely proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, are racist. But they're going to be using these facial recognition cameras at Carnival. And the people who are picked up by these cameras are going to have to prove that they are innocent. They're going to have to prove they are not the person the police think they are, or the facial recognition has recognised them as being. They're going to have to say, no, that isn't me, and this is who I really am, and I have to prove to you who I really am, rather than the police doing police work. So that concerns me deeply. I don't like these facial recognition cameras. I think anyone who has... And people are going, well, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. It's absolute nonsense. Because what will happen is people who want to hide their faces will blooming hide their faces. So criminals will find a way around this, as they always do around most technology, and innocent people will be swept up in these ridiculous technological sweeps that the police do now, and they find that they've got to let people go, or they weren't the people they thought they were, or whatever it is. This is not the way forward. We were lied to about CCTV. CCTV started in one street in London on a particular road. There was a test case to see if who was stealing cars, and now it's everywhere. We're the most watched nation, I think, in the world, actually more than China, in London. So there's all this creep, there's all this technological creep, and the more technology the police have got, the fewer police get out there on the streets. And then what happens? Crime rises. Because these things are good at recording crime as it happens and then solving it after it happens. They're not very good at stopping it before it happens. And they're not very good at stopping it as it's happening, as we know from crime statistics. So this is all bogus. Don't believe any of this nonsense that we're sold. This is for our safety. This is not for our safety. This is to make their lives easier. This is to flip the narrative on the proof of guilt or innocence. That it is becoming more and more our duty to prove we're innocent rather than their duty to prove we're guilty. And that's where it all goes wrong. And that's why we're being sold an absolute dud with these advances in technology. They do not work. And they certainly don't work against people who want to disguise who they are. They will disguise who they are. And what are the police going to do about it? You're wearing a mask. Yeah, I've got COVID. People will cover their faces if they're criminals, right? It's the rest of us who get swept up in this. So it's not a case of if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. If you've got nothing to hide, you better hope that you can prove that you're not the person they say you are. This is creep upon creep upon creep, and I don't like it. And you shouldn't either. So that's why I've lost faith in policing. Because they're not policing anymore. They're not recruiting properly, they're not training properly, they're bussing in graduates from university into positions of power they've never walked a beat in their life. It's all these whiz kids now. They don't know about community policing. And every time a new government wants to get into power, they say, what we're going to do is put good old bobbies back on the beat. They then see how much that costs and how cheap a camera is, and they go, do you know what? Let's not put bobbies on the beat. Let's just record the crime as it's happening and try to prove it after it's happened rather than stopping it in the first place. And they all do it. Reform are doing it now. We need big, burly police officers back on the streets. Well, where are you going to get them? Where are you going to recruit them from? We're not even training them properly at Hendon anymore. It's just, if they want to advance in their career, they've got to pay for their own courses. I mean, what kind of country have we become? And I feel sorry for the police. I'm not blaming them entirely. They're going to take advantage of a situation, of a system that means they don't have to go out much. And cameras as well, the ANPR and all... Yeah, that's right, isn't it? ANPR, automatic number plate recognition. That means that fewer police have to go out on the roads. Because they've got cameras in cars and they've got cameras set up. They don't need to be on the road. Why do we need to waste time putting police on the road when we can have cameras do the job for them? But they're not doing the job. They're not doing the job. And that, I think, is why 51% of us have lost faith in policing in this country, because it isn't happening. Not in a traditional sense. Not in a way that we would have expected it to happen and should be demanding that it happen, and that is face to face on the street where the crime is happening, not through a camera where they're sitting there eating donuts and sandwiches going, oh look, someone's just been mugged there, we better keep that bit of footage in case it goes to court. Really helpful. Thanks for that. So those are my reasons. What are your reasons that you've lost faith in the police? 0344 499 1000. Pat is in London. Hello, Pat.
Oh, good evening, Petrie. The police have got so far away from what they were originally set up to do that it's sort of it's like they're on another planet as far as their logic is concerned. You know, what I'm trying to say is what their logic of policing isn't the public's logic of... You know what I mean?
Yeah, the priorities are not the same.
Yes, the priorities and their logic and their reasoning behind what they do is just skewed. And I'll tell you for why it's gone. They've gone so political, it's unbelievable. And, not so much the sort of rank and file, but it's the people at the top. I can see they're more sort of left-wing sort of ideologues rather than just sort of fair and sort of like, you know, how can I say, sort of impartial. They've lost that impartiality. I feel.
Do you know what? I do think the police have become too political. I thought it was disgraceful when they took the knee. Not that I think brutality against anybody is a good idea, but police are not meant to be political. They're not meant to side with anybody. They're meant to be straight down the middle, and they shouldn't have taken the knee to anybody, right? So I think that was a really big mistake. I think that the police, I think, like you, that this whole world that we're in now, where everybody's afraid to offend, the police are also afraid to offend, because if they offend somebody, they could lose their badge, right, or their warrant card in this country. You know, if they step out of line, if they say the wrong thing, if they do the wrong thing, they wouldn't be able to go, oi, scrote, to some kid. That would be offensive, probably. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
They've had to display this more gentle policing, which I don't think necessarily works.
You see, I think when Blair became Prime Minister and he appointed Ian Blair, now he was sort of like the start of it, because I can remember that the police wasn't so political, well, as political in past decades, but I think it's since the turn of when he appointed Ian Blair, I think he was the start of it.
I think the police are trying to...
Policing.
I don't blame the police for what they're trying to do, right? I think the police are trying to be all things to all people. That the police service, or force as it should be, is trying to reflect society, right? So we have to have more police officers, different ethnicities, because they should reflect the society that they serve, right? But I think the word service has gone. I don't know why. It just feels like they don't serve us anymore. They serve themselves.
Well, the only time I ever see police walking about is if you go up the West End. If you go to
expensive properties, yeah.
Trafalgar Square, and I mean when there's not demonstrations going, but along Charing Cross Road, and even then they're few and far between. But you still see police walking about in the West End. Round here where I live in Tower Hamlets, in my little patch of Tower Hamlets, the last time, I mean, you might gasp, but the last time I saw policemen walking about was in the 90s.
Wow. It doesn't surprise me.
And that was only like now and again.
But they've withdrawn from the streets. That's because it is cheaper for one officer to sit in front of 4 screens and watch somebody get mugged than it is for them to be out on the street stopping that mugging.
I mean, where I live, I don't know if you know Stepney, any
a bit.
Commercial.
I know Commercial Road.
I don't live that far from Harbour Square.
Right.
Now, in Harbour Square, there was a big police station and Thames Magistrates Court bolted onto it. It's now Thames Magistrates Court is down at Bow. Right.
Wow.
It moved from there, and they've turned it into flats. The police station and the magistrates court, it's all flats. But that was like one of the big police stations in the East End, and it had a court attached to it. And as I say, they sold that off. And
it's like Paddington.
The nearest one to me is probably Victoria Park.
Wow, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's like Paddington, isn't it? The big, huge one that had all those police cells that was major sort of centre for, wanted terrorists and things like that. The massive one just off the A40, off the flyover. That's gone. That's flats now.
Yeah, and even then, the police stations that are open are inaccessible to the public. You've got years ago, you could walk any time, day or night. You could walk through the door and go to the do,
to the counter,
like where the counter, where the desk sergeant would be, and report a crime or report that you've been mugged or whatever you like. Today, it would be probably 9 out of 10 police stations that are still open. You wouldn't be able to get into the police station. You'd have to phone them.
But this is what they said, isn't it, Pat? They said we'll get rid of all these police stations and we'll have these massive hubs but nobody goes there. I mean, and they're, round by me in Shepherd's Bush, there used to be one on Goldhawk Road. That's closed. That's turning into flats now. So there's not one in Shepherd's Bush. I think the closest one is to cover the whole of the borough is in a small one in Hammersmith.
Can I before I know I don't want to take up too much. You've got other calls, but I'm kind. But I mean, I'll be 69 next birthday. But I'm going back in the probably late 70s, maybe early 80s. I was coming out of my house, going to a local pub, all the pubs, disco pubs during the weekend. I was walking round the back streets, and it had been raining. It was a Friday night, and the old police cars, they were was it Austin or Morris's? They were light blue.
Yeah.
That's how far I'm going back. And as I'm walking across a side street, one just come out the road. It was near Arp Square Police Station. So he goes, "Excuse me, mate, where have you been?" I said, "Well, just coming out of my house. I'm going towards so-and-so pub." He said, "Would you like to get in? We're going to take you for an ID parade. There's been a girl been molested." So, well, okay then, all right. And I was a bit late. I thought, well, if I say no, it's going to...
Yeah.
So I've had to spend the rest of the night waiting, standing in an ID parade, and that gives you an idea of how the police were back then. I'm talking about 40.
Yeah, and they were still working in the evening, getting ID parade.
Yeah,
I've often wondered about people doing ID parade. I mean, now it's all on books. It
don't happen now.
Did it scare you though? Did you think, what if they picked me even though I didn't do it?
Well, I thought, I can't say no because everything I did. I mean, so I thought, I might as well cooperate.
But were you nervous standing in the ID parade?
Well, I was, but I knew I'd only just come out. I'd only been just over.
I know, but that's not the point, is it? That person could have gone, yeah, it's him, he did it.
But I had to do it in case, because they say, yeah, we're refusing.
I know, you're damned if you do, aren't you? But that's what they did. They used to go out looking for people who looked a bit like the person that they'd arrested.
As I say, they took me back. Well, it was only about a 5-minute drive back to Harbour Square Police Station. So anyway, they give me a cup of tea and stuff in it. So it ruined my night. But if I didn't, they'd think, "Oh, blimey, I think we found him." So you know what I mean? So,
I would have been terrified.
I was only about just over 20.
Oh,
I can't remember what age I was, but I was a young lad, and as I say, anyway, they let me go for about 11:15. Well, I was only a few stones throw back from my house, so I spent going out to have a few beers. I spent the night in a police station.
Oh, God.
And for as I say, but anything that's sort of it's nothing to do with me, Governor, but I'll play your game. But that's how the police were. They were out and about looking for people. They were at, there was a report, a girl come probably into and said I've been molested, and they was out looking for, people.
I don't think that would happen nowadays.
No, I'm just saying, but they left nothing to chat. They wouldn't bother now.
That's the thing. It's the way they've retreated, not just in person from us, but all of the police stations. It's not the individual copper's fault, right? But those police stations were an important link to the police. It's not just about, it's about knowing your local police, knowing they're available, knowing they're there if you need them, not some random number that you call and it goes to a central phone a phone place in Brentford or whatever. This is your local police station, and they've taken those away.
And like to end with, as I say, you never liked it, but you thought, well, if it helps somebody, if it helps the procedure to catch that person,
yeah,
hey, I can't refuse.
No, but these days you might go, no, do one. Well, they wouldn't do it now. But, you go, no, I'm going down a pub instead. Pat, lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for calling in. I'm going to have to take a very quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Brian, who's in Whitley Bay.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you. And we're talking about the police service and why it is that we have less faith in British policing than we did 10 years ago. It's less than half of us think that officers do a good job. So faith rather than trust, which I think are different. James says, the police are there to make the people feel safe and catch the crooks. Do that first. Agree with that. Zarina says, how did we afford so many police officers in the past? We should demand a visible police force. It's a need, not a want. And I agree with that. We get the police service we deserve in a way, because we don't make a fuss about it, do we? We just carry on being mugged, or whatever it is we carry on doing. As I promised, Brian is in Whitley Bay. How are you this morning, Brian?
Hi, Petrie. That was great conversations about the police in days gone by.
Yeah.
I think the rots kind of kicked in when Theresa May, got rid of a lot of the police forces, during the cutbacks and stuff. But even before then, a lot of the local police stations were closing down, weren't they? And they were put into those huge outbuildings, away from everywhere. The big headquarters.
Yeah, that for me it was an absolutely boneheaded decision.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, when I was quite young, not far from where I live, there's a place called Lizard Lane, and there used to be a lot of police houses there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And you had people like living in they were like police officers living on like housing estates, and you know they were in the community that, and they were always out on on foot or whatever, or on bikes. You know what I mean? You see them around and stuff. But yeah, sadly,
Yeah, I mean, we think we've got it bad in sort of urban areas, but you've got people in the countryside, right, who haven't got a police officer for miles, right?
no,
Because
and
they
when
used to be in my local village, where I went to school, Culworth, in Oxfordshire. There was a police house in that village where it was the police house. Everybody knew it was a police house. That's where the coppers lived. So they, like you said, they were in the community. They knew people. People could go and knock on their door. There was, you know, but now you've got a whole countryside areas that there isn't a police officer living anywhere near.
Yeah. Do you know what it is, Petrie? I don't know if I got this right or wrong, but as a kid, I can remember the police houses. Some of them actually had like a blue light up. You know what I mean? So you knew that was a police house.
Yeah, they always had the blue doors as well.
Yeah. But yeah, sadly they've all gone now. I mean, I think unfortunately now a lot of people, like youngsters, disrespect the police these days. I mean, like I've got a cousin who lives in Middlesbrough, in a place called Cargo Fleet. If a cop car turns up in Cargo Fleet to knocks on someone's door, you can guarantee when he comes out the house, the windows in that car will be smashed out.
No.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really run-down, rough area. If, you know, the coppers turn up at somebody's house, you know, if someone's been doing, you know, some young lad's done something wrong, that they go and visit that person's house, you can guarantee once the coppers come out the door, the windows in the car will be smashed out, the windscreen will be smashed in. You know what I mean? And nobody seems to know who's done it. I don't know who's done it.
Of course.
Even the kids would probably. That's how brazen the kids are around that area. They go and just put the windscreen out so you can't use the car. You know what I mean? They'll run off, and nobody seems to, like, you know. It was in the Hartlepool Mail quite a while ago. I read about it, I mean, where kids have been smashing car windscreens out of the cop cars and stuff and that, you know. And
do you think that you know, there's always this question of the fear factor with the police, and certainly when I was younger, when I was a kid, I was scared of the police. I mean, and it'd be like, oh, if you're naughty, you know, they're going to drag you. You know, all of that. You were taught to have a bit of fear, not so much respect, but fear for the police. And children are taught not to fear the police now, which is a good thing in one way, because if you're in trouble, what do? You go and find a police officer. That's a good thing. So you shouldn't fear them. But with that, I think there should be a little bit of fear.
I agree. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, right, there was a load of houses up at Monk's Seaton, not far from Whitley Bay, were getting pulled down. And me and a bunch of lads were in these out big houses, pulling up the floorboards, looking for money under the floorboards. And this copper fella came in. What he's doing here, he had his little black book there, took the names and addresses down and everything. Everyone was terrified. I mean, we were like about 12-year-old, and that, you know.
Yeah, you knew your parents were going to get a knock on the door, right?
Oh, I went home and that, and I said, the police have pulled us up. I got a stick here. You know, my dad would have given me a crack by in the ear. You idiot! You know what I mean? Getting involved in the police and stuff. You know what I mean? You got a good telling off when you're a kid. But a lot of them were actually on foot, and actually the kid, like I say, he came in his house when we were pulling the floorboards up, looking for money because it was like an old shop that was going to be pulled down. You know, and that's what kids do. They go in these like old built. I mean, it was completely derelict. I mean, it was like, you know, it was due to be like knocked down by, you know, there was no windows left in the place. It was all like ready to be bulldozed and stuff. And we just thought, that's an old shop, make me money into the floorboards. So as kids do, you pull up the floorboards looking for money, and that's where you caught. We're in there, you know, took my names down, you know, and it was like pretty scary stuff. You thought you were in deep trouble and that, you know, and.
Yeah, because they would report. I mean, they didn't have to clip you around the ear themselves. They would tell your dad or your mum that's what you'd been up to.
And so your family would give you a clip for getting involved with the police. I mean, you know, you got into like.
I think fear is a really important thing to have. Fear teaches you not to run across the road. The fear of being run over, right? The fear of being burned. You don't put your finger in a fire. The fear of the police telling your mum and dad you don't want that. You know, I think children aren't scared of anything anymore. And I think fear kept us little toe rags in line. But there's no fear anymore.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like youngsters now, you know, like you said before, they're not bothered about the police. They're just, you know, there's gangs of youths around and the police try.
There's no consequences. There's no consequences. You know, they know that there's no consequences. Their parents can't clip them around the ear because then they'll be reported to social services. The schools can't scare a kid because then they'll be told off for shouting at a child because it had traumatised them. There's no fear. And I think fear, you know, fear is so important. It's an emotion or a sense that protects us. It keeps us safe to be scared of certain things. You know, the reason people are scared of spiders is in case one bites them. Okay, you're scared of of something, and that fear is a protective instinct. But if you've got no fear and no consequences, what's stopping you from behaving any way you want?
Oh, absolutely. And like I say, in these times we live in now, you know, you always seen, when I was, like I say, when I was younger, I was seeing police all the time out on the streets around, you know, because obviously with the Bay colour codes, Tynemouth, Monk Street, and it's all quite a lot of nightlife, you know, like clubs and bars and stuff going on, and people like leaving in the early hours, walking down the coast road and stuff. These days, now you never see police cars going up down that road now. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, there's nobody seems to be around anymore now. You know, like, you know, it's still good nightlife.
It's because they've got CCTV. I mean, I'm always so annoyed by CCTV because it films the crime as it's happening. And it might help towards prosecution, but it doesn't stop the crime from happening, right? All they're doing is sitting watching it like a television show. Oh, she's just been mugged. Oh, he's just been beaten up. Oh, we'll send somebody out there now. But that's too late, isn't it? That's the whole point. The whole point is to stop it before it happens or as it's happening, not wait for it to happen and then go out.
No, and one more thing before I go. I mean, even shoplifting now, they don't even
it's a
turn up
joke.
that kind of stuff anymore now. I know it's a different story altogether, but...
no, it's the same thing. We've lost faith in the police.
Yeah. You just don't see nobody there, Petrie, to be honest.
No, people are just going into shops, stuffing them full of hundreds of pounds worth of stuff and walking out.
It is. We're living in terrible times at the moment. I mean, you know, I've seen it happen myself in shops. I'm thinking, you know, you're putting our price up in the shops because when I go back in that particular shop, stuff has been taken from the shop. You know, it's going to affect everybody.
All of us have to pay more because they're stealing it. It's the same with public transport. The people who steal journeys on public transport make it more expensive for everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's going off subject slightly, but our metro system, we used to have inspectors on the trains, you know, on carriages checking tickets that you got on. You never see them now, and a lot of stations on the metro system itself are like, you know, they're not really, you know, there's nobody there, so people just, it's 3 or 4 stops. I'll just jump on for now and just... Nobody seems to be buying tickets anymore, you know what I mean? And they've got digital ticket machines there, you can use your card, anything, you know, and you never see anyone buying tickets. They just jump on the metro and just get a free ride, so to speak, you know what I mean? And, you know, and it's just... I don't know, it's just...
Absolutely, and the amount of mothers that I see get onto buses and they get on in the middle section of the bus and they park their buggy and they're supposed to then walk up to the front and tap their card. Never do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I give them, I glare and tut because I'm a Londoner. That's what we do in London. We glare and tut. No, I think there's a lot of issues, and it starts at the home as well. Like I said, no fear. I think fear is a really necessary part. Not horrified fear, you know what I mean, though, but it's necessary as a mechanism to keep us all under control. Great to talk to you, Brian. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to take a quick break, come back, I'll speak to David.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And we're talking about the police and why it is that we have lost faith in the police service. And I have many reasons. Vicky has sent this message. Said, I remember being frightened to death if I saw a bobby on the beat, which was daily. These days, all we seem to see is crises they cannot deal with because of repercussions due to political and cultural reasons. There's also no respect for the law because the sentences for crime are laughable. We're enabling people to commit crime because we're continuously told there's cuts in the police force or no room in prisons. So basically it's a free-for-all. And the lack of police presence essentially permits it. Let's not forget funding and policies for the police primarily come from our government, unfortunately. I mean, that is all true. I mean, I do think fear is essential, and I don't mean the kind of fear that people of colour feel in America when they see a police officer. I don't mean that kind of fear. That's not acceptable. And people of colour may in this country feel the same way as well. That's not acceptable. I'm talking about that level of fear that is just a bit of, I better behave myself. Do you know what I mean? That sort of, there's a copper. I better not do what I think I was going to do, or whatever. Gary says, I no longer trust the police. However, I blame governments past and present. Cutbacks and no bobbies on the beat. The policing of our social media posts rather than attending burglaries and real crimes. I no longer feel that they are there to serve and protect us. And Mark says, you're right, the police aren't like they were 60 years ago. They've forgotten that respect is a two-way thing. No, Mark in Birmingham. Thank you for that. Right, let's go to David now, who's here in London. Hello, David.
Hi, Petrie. Thank you very much. I just want to say two things, Petrie. The closure of police stations was very bad because we lose the reassurance of being able to talk to the police in person, you see.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that is so important because they are there to serve us.
Yeah.
And if they're not there, they can't serve us.
Yeah.
We don't know them. The only time we see a police officer now is if something really bad happens.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you don't need the police, just driving past a police station, just walking past, it's just nice to see that there's a police station there.
Absolutely. You know?
Yeah. But also, Petrie, it's now called the police service, but the service is usually associated with things that are optional, like a restaurant. But there isn't an option with the police. The police are there to enforce the law, not to provide a service.
I agree with you. I think that was horrible optics to change it to the police service. This gentler, kinder policing. And like I said, I want to make a differential here between police brutality, which no one should fear, no one of any colour, any culture, any persuasion should ever fear that kind of policing. But I'm talking about the kind of fear, like I said, where you go, there's a police station, or there's some actual police officers on the street. You know, either I know I'm safe, or if I was going to do something wrong, I'm no longer going to do it. But I just don't think they have that aura about them anymore.
No. And I feel sorry for the police themselves because they're under people like Sadiq Khan, and they've got such a hard job because so many people film them as well when they're just trying to do their job. They're under a lot of pressure.
I agree with that as well. Don't start me on Sadiq Khan because I won't finish. But I'll take it up to 1 o'clock and beyond, ranting about that man and what he's done to policing in this city. But I do think that the police have a really difficult job. I think the people at the top are to blame. Yes. But I also think that the way police are recruited is wrong and the way they're trained is wrong.
Yes, thank you.
But I agree with you, David. I think that changing it to the police service does make it sound like it's an optional thing, but that was that kinder, nicer policing. And I think policing should be respectful to everybody. But I don't think kind or soft is the right approach. I think you can be respectful, can't you? But you can be tough and respectful without resorting to being a bit wishy-washy or a bit soft or, you know, going, oh, we're the police, aren't we lovely? Because you're not meant to be lovely. That's not what you're there for. And we leave that to people like nurses and doctors and people like that. They can be lovely. But police, I don't want you to be lovely. I want you to be a little bit scary and a little bit, but totally respectful. That's what I want. I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, we will talk to Alison.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk and it's Petrie. I'm with you until the top of the hour and we're talking about policing. Faith in police plunges as less than half of us think officers do a good job. Alison has sent a message. She said all the experienced coppers have now retired or left because they do not like the policing methods now. The thought of not going to a crime is outrageous. I arrested shoplifters virtually every day regardless of the amount stolen, but the forces have been told to ignore certain crimes. If a crime is in the statute book, then police should attend. Yeah, a crime's a crime, right? I'm appalled at the services behaviour, isn't it? We need a whistleblower to tell us who is directing them to behave the way that they are. I have no respect for them now. The university route is wrong and students have no common sense or the ability to talk to people, and that's from Alison. I completely agree with that. I think the recruitment method they're using for police now is completely wrong. I think that everybody in a senior position should have come through rank and file. Genuinely, I think they should have learnt at the, right at the bottom of the pile, and worked their way up. That's when you got police who knew what was going on, who understood what was going on, understood what crime was, and understood the effects that crime had on victims. And I think a lot of people have lost touch with that, and that's because policing is now at arm's length. They keep us as far away from them as possible, and use technology instead. Let's speak to another Alison, different Alison in Buckinghamshire. Hello, Alison.
Hello, Petrie. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. I am much better than I was. I was a sobbing child at the weekend.
Oh, my partner's had it, and he had it for ages.
It's horrible.
He thought he had COVID. That's how bad he was. But I tested him, and he didn't have it. But yeah, he was very bad.
Yeah, I was lucky. They put me straight on some very hefty antibiotics. So
well, there you go then.
I was fine. But thank you. That's how I was able to make it in today, the wonder of modern science, which I absolutely love. But thank you for asking, Alison. Tell me about police. What is your concern with police?
I've had a few experiences with them, and I feel that the faith has gone in the police because we don't trust them. I think that some of the police officers now don't have the commitment, or, back in the day, like you say, you'd have that little bit of, oh, God, there's a police officer. And you know what? I'm still like that.
Yeah.
I am still like, oh, God, But I think also everything has been relaxed too much.
But
so
we were taught to fear them, weren't we? And I'm saying not in a George Floyd kind of way. That's horrendous. Yeah. But a little bit of fear is what protects you, and that's what our parents wanted.
Yeah,
it's like, you'll get in trouble.
I think the problem is that the government is a big problem, as we all know. But I've had my few personal experiences with them, and they've been absolutely awful.
Really?
And and I'm talking 10 years ago, even then. And what I've seen grow in time is, I've had to send police officers away because of their attitude. I've said to them, if you don't, they've come in a pair. I said, if you don't remove him, I'm not going to stand there and talk to you, and that's it. Because it was a very delicate situation, because my partner has mental health issues, so I've had a few situations where the police have had to be involved. And there was 2 police officers that came to my door, and obviously the female officers I've dealt with have been a lot different. I'm not siding, it's just they're just different. And they would, they handled the situations a lot more thought, which is what you want.
It is what you want.
Yeah, it is what you want, and you want to feel protected, and a female officer made me feel like that. But this particular, it was his body language as well, just, the sort of stand up, sort of relaxed back, arms crossed, The
big I am.
Yeah, it was that kind of thing, which I've experienced a lot. And also, it was, he was sort of telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about, basically, about my partner. And I said to him, do you know anything about mental health? And he's like, no, do you?
Oh.
And I said, actually, yeah, I did it for 13 years. I said, so when I'm telling you, he's dangerous, you need to sort it out, but they never, ever have. They just let him carry on. And I know for a fact that if a person is a danger to the public or themselves, they can section him on a 136.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they were saying to me they couldn't do anything, and I said, that's not true.
That's not true, because I've had to do that with my brother.
Yeah, exactly. And they did, and he had to go. I said to him, just I can't deal with him.
And you would think that but they don't get the right training either. There's no big Hendon training now. There's no, if they want to climb the greasy pole, they have to pay for their own courses. It's just it's wrong-headed. Every part of it is wrong.
Yeah, I think, like Keir Starmer, they don't care about the job, it's the power as well. They just like that, I find a lot of officers now don't use what they've got in the right way. The sentences are laughable in this country. I just think it's ridiculous. And also, who's using just tasers these days on the way people are turning out? It's no threat to the public. It's not, they don't care, and sometimes it doesn't even work.
No, and I keep coming back to this sense of is it fear? I use the word fear because I'm struggling to think of another one, but it's that sense of like, oh God, like you and I would have, is like, oh, there's police here, what's going on? Or there's a policeman at my door, what's happened? There's that respect, is it? I don't know. But there's none of that now, because they've all been, they're supposed to be all soft and lovely. I don't want soft coppers. I don't. I want them to be tough and respectful, but they're not. I don't need them to be on the streets being kind.
No, well, they know. I know
To people like you at home, yes, be kind.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, like in really, bad situations, I just think they should all have guns. That would be more of a threat to people than a taser. They need to be tougher. They need to be, have a bit of backbone and not be disrespectful doing it. This is what's happening.
Well, it's a false tough, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to see the police armed because I've seen what happens in America, and we have got rapid response armed units, blah blah blah, and that kind of thing in this country. But it's the lack of they're trying to be all things to all people and be all fluffy and liked, and that isn't their job to be liked.
Well, the thing is as well is obviously the things that have happened within the police force, and it's still going on. You're not going to trust them full stop.
Have you seen the images of that copper nicking women's underwear?
I know.
Isn't that awful?
And you just think,
what? That is such a violation.
I know.
No one goes into my knicker drawer except me.
Exactly, same there.
Well, apart from the cat, she might sleep on it occasionally, which is annoying. But and everything's got cat fur on it, but we won't go there. But it's a complete violation, and he's just put his hand in a drawer and put it in his back pocket. I'm showing the images again here, if people are watching.
No, I know. I couldn't believe it, and I thought, I know you shouldn't paint everyone with the same brush because I'm not like that. But when it keeps happening,
exactly,
and they keep employing them. You can't turn to them like you used to. You just can't.
No.
How can you look at them and think, yeah, I trust you. I've got faith. You're gonna, you're not. I just couldn't anymore.
And Sarah Everard's killer, I won't even name him, but he was known in a WhatsApp group as the rapist amongst all his mates.
I don't understand exactly, and it's. You can't, they've destroyed their reputation.
Completely.
Just like the NHS have destroyed theirs.
Again, it's recruitment. There's been not enough attention paid.
I've always said that.
Yeah, it's who they recruit.
It is, like now, in a lot of jobs, they will take anyone on.
Yeah.
And that is so dangerous to do that.
I agree.
And that, you can't, it's in care work, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you can't just, I know, people have got to work or whatever, but...
There's got to be a standard, right? Below which you don't go. Yeah.
That's it. And you're like, but when they're desperate, they'll just do it, won't they? And then, it's just all backfiring everywhere. It's like Keir Starmer, I just don't know. I feel a bit sorry for Boris that he got kicked out. I love Boris anyway. But that he got out because of what he did. But I just don't understand how this man is staying and destroying everybody.
I don't think he'll...
and everything.
I can't see Keir Starmer lasting. I really can't. He's too busy playing Mr. Big Cojones on the world stage, isn't he? Doesn't
Yeah. Andrea Nash actually said that, that they sort of heard or been told that he actually doesn't like the job. He wishes he'd never gone for it.
I'm sure you can tell he doesn't like it.
No.
And he likes being on the world stage.
Oh yeah, it's the power.
He likes being with all the powerful boys. Yeah, the big boys.
Yeah, and mixed in with all the big people.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
It is pathetic. I just think, oh God, will you just go away?
It's time for women to rule the world, I think.
Do you know what? I really think that should happen.
Give us a chance. Give us a chance.
Definitely. I agree with that.
Get rid of all the top men. Put all women in there. Let's see what happens. It can't be any worse. It can't be any worse, right?
Well, how can it?
It can't get any worse.
No, I just don't know. I don't know what. I mean, whatever happens now, everyone's like, "Oh God, really?"
Yeah, I know.
It's like no surprise, is it?
I know, every day it's like, oh well, another new low. Let's just see how that goes. Oh, Alison, I love talking to you. Bless you. Thank you for calling and thank you for asking
You're
after my
welcome.
health. And I will hopefully speak to you soon, next week maybe. Give us a call. Joanna sent a message from Salisbury, and she said, as my friend told me, she left the police because the police were only interested in climbing the greasy pole and stepping on people to get there. And I'm afraid that is the kind of a place, isn't it? You can imagine it's like in Whitehall, like in the government things, that everyone's just trying to